don't know me for like most of our class because we're remote and you don't really get to see us until like OMM in the one particular areas. I'm Raj. I am a former master's student. I was in the year 2018, 2019, so I was with some of the second years. Um, I was interested in running for parliamentarian because I actually like community service. It was a big area in my life. I did it insane amount of hours during my undergrad, whether it was like helping out with the local hospitals, building dog parks in the areas, Habitat for Humanity, Humane Society, other projects they had. Um, Eventually, I did get like a community service award, and so community service has always been a huge part of what I wanted to do. And being a parliamentarian, working with the touch hours, getting you approved, finding different like projects that we can organize and coordinate through. That's right in my area. Um, some other things about me is I grew up here in Orange County, like 20 minutes away. Had friends that were born here at the school, so it's still a little weird when I come to school knowing that, oh, my friend was born here. But I have like great relationship with the community versus other organizations that we can get in contact with. So I'm excited to join and do what I can and help you. And if you guys have any questions, just ask me now.
All right, thank you, Raj. So I'll go ahead and just ask a quick question. What unique skills do you think you can bring to SGA?
Kind of my own personality, how I'm like easygoing, free flowing, always taking the ideas of that everyone's presented. I like running with things. So like if someone presents me an idea, I like learning as much as possible about it before moving ahead. And so I would like to use that. And then, like I said, I grew up here, so like I know a couple of different people here and try to get some more community service opportunities. I know like right now because of COVID, it's kind of hard to get things going, especially with different restrictions. So hopefully I can help out and try to find different ways to get us going.
All right, thank you so much. We have a hand raised. Odie?
Hey Raj, what's up? So my question for you is, based off of your knowledge of the Touch program and how it's kind of run here, what improvements do you think that you can add to just like the operations of it?
So from what I've heard from Ali was a lot of, I guess, former things were just left under the rug. So making sure to keep on track of that, making sure things are keep it ahead of time, especially for when people need to get their letters in and for Dean's letter and all their hours for they need from when they're applying for the residencies. So making sure all that stays on top of things and keep on top with administration because they need a list of names and hours and things like that. So keeping on top of that every single day, I guess would be the best option instead of letting everything build, especially with our crazy schedules.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Raj, and thank you, Odie, for that question. We have another raised hand. Jermaine?
So how were you able to participate in community service outreach during the time of COVID?
So during COVID right now, there was like the soup kitchen. I think they're one of the only few that I know of that were there. And then I also, since I grew up here, I never really logged this in because I just didn't want to because it's more personal for me. But I did stuff with my own religious and the faith and different community service events around there. And so I've always just been doing that. But with the different restrictions and hopefully with things opening up more and people be more, I I don't want to say less free, but like more understanding what was going on than what was happening before with coronavirus and understanding different not getting people more like contagious and sick and being safe with the social distancing guidelines, we can finally find something to help out. Whether it's cleaning parks or things of that nature where you can actually be separated.
All right. So if there are no other questions, we're going to move on. So the second candidate for parliamentarian is student Dr. Nicholas Gatto. Nick, you have the floor.
That's very good. He's got my vote. All right. I'm Nicholas J. Gatto. Some of you might recognize me. Let's see. Actually, you probably know me as the anatomy class rep. I'm that guy that constantly reminds things and posts things everywhere. But I'd also like to branch out and try some other things. I'd like to run for submit my candidacy for the parliamentarian position within SGA, because I'd like to continue with kind of what I've been going towards so far, like trying to make our lives in this chaotic time and part of our lives just a little more tolerable, one step at a time. And I predominantly was drawn to the position of parliamentarian because the class representative organization falls under the purview of parliamentarian, and I was hoping to streamline a lot of more of the aspects of that program to consolidate a lot of the way we just disseminate information that the class reps would normally do, and just make things one step less than they were before. Because if we can make things easier, why not? If I can make things slightly less painful, it will have made my job worth it. I love chatting with everyone, and I want to see all these great ideas we have just implemented any way we can. And I think that I'm in a unique situation where I'm sitting on the IT committee and diversity and graduation committee, separate committees. One crazy committee if they're all together. But I've worked a lot with a lot of the administration, so maybe I might be able to push one thing through before, just because I know the administration staff a little better. Anyway, what was it? I think that I've done a pretty good job so far, not patting myself back, but trying to balance my class representative duties with my classwork. And I don't anticipate my job as parliamentarian to really detract much from that in the future. Sorry, they asked me to go through a couple things on there. And I don't know, there's a lot of things that I think are interesting about the position, and I think it might be going over my time. Yeah, exactly. But public speaking, not necessarily one of my strongest suits, but something I'm trying to work on. As you can clearly see, trying to force myself to get out there and also try and do what I can to help everyone else. And if you can come up with ideas, please don't feel afraid to approach me, because I want to see if I can try and get it done. And, we're all in it together. Does anybody have any questions? I feel like I probably left some things.
All right. I have a question. I can ask you specifically, just like Raj was asked. What kind of volunteering have you done? And additionally, on top of that, you said your ideas for class rep. What ideas do you have for getting the student body more involved in volunteering in touch hours, specifically medicine related volunteering?
Well, for the pandemic, I volunteered for a couple of mainly virtual things. Also, I volunteered to help administer vaccine stuff like that, but they actually didn't really get back to me. There are some kind of gaps in there that I'd hopefully like to fill in the future, and see if we can't also find more venues through which we could help people. There are a lot of other options. I was looking into the grocery delivering thing, but there's so many other things. I clearly need to look more into it, but I always am interested in new options of doing that. As for the class representative part of it, how we get more people involved, I think there's definitely some way we could integrate the components, because for some reason, I have this weird obsession with trying to consolidate as much things into one place just so everything's easier to find. If we could get, I really like the idea of the SGA site so far, and I think it's been a fantastic job. Everything's coming together, and I think we should be able to fit more things onto it, just so we can click on one place and make sure, I find all the calendars for everything. We can consolidate some of the calendars. If we could find all of the opportunities for volunteering in one kind of drop down kind of menu almost. Now, it'd be more convenient if we could actually do it that way. And what was it? Oh yeah, for our announcements, I would like to, like to consolidate it in such a way that some sort of RSS feed where we can consolidate different things into one thing, so you can scroll through and see specific things that you'd like, or you could maybe filter out certain things by class. So I have a lot of ideas that are kind of swirling around there, but I'm definitely going way over in time. I always do that. I'm sorry. I yield the remainder of my time to the next person. Thank you all so much, and good luck to everyone. Thank you for
All right.
everything.
Thanks, Nick. So do we have any other questions in chat? Yes, Odie.
Oh no, I'm just using the reactions. That wasn't a question. I was just clapping
Oh, all right.
silently.
Sorry, my fault. All right. So next up, we're going to move on. So those were our two candidates for parliamentarian. Our next position is going to be for secretary. The first candidate we have up is Andrea. Andrea, you have the floor.
Hi, thank you. Hi, my name is Andrea Perdomo, and I would like to be elected as your next SGA secretary. I've been part of the Torcom community since 2019 when I was a master's student. I'm the graduating class of 2020. My past experiences in leadership roles have helped shape my perspective on collaboration, cooperation, and unity between group members. I believe being a part of SGA will help strengthen these qualities and will further impact my character and work ethic. I know I have a responsibility to complete my duties as an SGA secretary, and some of those include organizing the committees that we have, recruiting new members that are qualified and that we know will do a good job in the committees, and maintaining communication based on important events or meetings that we have throughout the year. Organization and time management, I think, are two qualities that you need to be a successful SGA secretary. And I believe those two qualities, Toro helped help me have in like a day-to-day basis. And apart from my individual responsibilities for this position, I think communication with my fellow SGA members and illustration of teamwork is definitely important, especially with everything that's going on. And I think it'll be important in order to have a well-rounded and united group that will represent our student body in a positive manner. So if I'm elected as your SGA secretary, I hope to demonstrate the value and dedication that I will have, that will incorporate into my work alongside my fellow members. I'll also work to create a positive environment that will allow other students to come to me for any questions or concerns that they may have. And it'll also allow our voices, our opinions, and our ideas to be exemplified. I'm aware of my responsibilities as both a student and secretary, and I'm fully committed to serve the student body and make a positive impact in our community. I did want to address a few questions that were given to us prior to this. So basically, why did I choose this role? Since I've been a part of Toro for quite some time, I wanted to do something that involved the student body and the faculty administration because I think they've done a great job with us. So I wanted to be more involved, definitely. And I also wanted a position that had a lot to do with organization and keeping tabs of meetings and groups because I think that's a very important job for being a secretary. And I'm also good with communication and relaying information, and I think those would be great qualities to incorporate in my job. And also, in order to manage, I think, SGA responsibilities and the second year coursework, well, I think a lot of it has to do with scheduling and knowing your time management and also organization, and also not being afraid to ask questions because there are students that have been in our position, have been in our shoes, and I think they have a lot of insight on how we can better our situation and how we can help others. And I think having someone else to go to for advice, I think would be very useful for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. So I have a question for you, and there's no right or wrong answer for it. You can answer however you want. So if you were asked by one of your classmates or someone in the committee, if you were elected to be secretary, and someone were to ask you to do something that you consider unethical, but you feel that because of the way that they're asking you it's not unethical, how would you address it? And how would you tell them, like, how would you address the situation?
That whether I think if it's unethical or not.
No, actually, they're asking you something that is unethical, but maybe in their eyes it's not. How would you address that?
Oh, well, if someone's asking me to do something unethical, I honestly wouldn't, or I would approach it a different way. I would ask in a different manner to see if they can approach the situation in a different way. But if it ends up being unethical, it's most probably something that I will not do because um, it's not something that I would, it's not something I would do. But if I try to talk to them and try to see if there's any other way around it, if there's any other way that they would approach it, then that might be a better situation. But if it ends up being unethical, then I wouldn't do it.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, great. So next up, we have the second candidate for secretary, student Dr. Juliet Ferd-Schneider.
Sorry, can I please ask a question?
Oh, yes, Jermaine, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I apologize, but I guess I want to ask this question to everyone who's running for secretary eventually. What will you do? Per the Constitution, all the committees fall under the secretary and all the clubs fall under the vice president. But sometimes because of collaboration, there could be, some misunderstanding and some confusion. How will you handle a situation where the vice president kind of steps on your toes?
Well, I guess I'll answer it. First, I would want to make sure that each individual knows their responsibilities and their duties. I think that's very important because if it's something that you can't handle, it's best not to just give it to someone, just to give it to someone. I think you should make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and just take it from there. But if it's in any way that you can help others, then I think that would be something you can do.
All right, thank you so much. Anyone else have any other questions? All right, let's move on. So next up, we have the other candidate for secretary, student Dr. Juliet Ferd-Schneider. I hope I said that right.
Yeah, that was great. Do you want me to answer the previous question first or give my speech first?
You can start out with whatever you had planned, and then you can answer the question after that.
Okay, so for those of you who may not know me, my name is student Dr. Juliet Ferd-Schneider. I apologize in advance if you hear squeaking in the background. This is around the time that my dog decides that it's playtime. So with that being said, I'm very excited to run for the position of Student Government Association Secretary. I understand the responsibilities attached to this position that include assisting and assembling the committees, taking minutes at student government meetings, sending out forms for students to submit questions for town halls, and sending out information to the student body as needed via email or whatever way most fits. I feel confident in myself to fulfill these needs and hopefully evolve the position for the better. The involvement with the student committees is what initially drew me to this position. Over the last academic year, I've held the position on 2 committees, and I've loved every moment of it so far. I'm currently on the Wellness Committee, and I serve as a student ambassador. I'd like to continue to serve the student body by helping to assemble the next generation of committees and support them through their term. I would want to make myself available to committee heads and reach out periodically to ensure that they have the resources required to be successful and assist them from behind the scenes. For example, making sure that events wind up on student calendars or making reservations for rooms if they need so. I have experience working with faculties to host events for organizations. During my time in undergrad, I have made requests for time, spaces, and equipment for various events. And I have all the confidence in my ability to do it again moving forward for my committees. Being said, with that, having been part of other organizations, I'm familiar with meeting frequently, Robert's Rules of Order, and what minutes often look like. One thing that I would like to change for this term is that I think that I would like to make the minutes from student government meetings open to the student body if they want to review them. I understand that not everything will be available for us to post, but I think that there will be a way to edit it to at least make it pretty transparent as to what student government is doing and working on, and hopefully build some trust and transparency between the two. So when discussing forms for students to send questions in, I have experience with that as well. Earlier last semester, I did a form when a lot of the quarantining was happening from the OMM rooms for students to ask questions anonymously, and I know that I'll be able to uphold this task with no difficulty. I'm not concerned about my ability to balance this position with my academics next year. I would ask members to send brief descriptions of what they would like to speak about before meetings so that I can make an outline for each meeting. So taking notes during so would be a little more simple and it'd be a little more streamlined for me. I would also attempt to make office hours for committees so that they could reach me as needed. And it would make it easier for me to separate out SGA time versus academic time and study time. I have some other ideas for student government and I hope to be allowed to see them through. I realize that a lot of my plans aren't ones that I would execute alone, but by being on student government, I hope to be able to work closely with my peers on them. I know that if given the opportunity, I would serve to the best of my ability, being open, approachable, and helpful in whatever way possible. Thank you for considering me for the next Student Government Association Secretary. And if there are any questions, I am happy to answer them.
All right, thank you so much. I think Zoraida has a question.
Oh, wait, hold on. Jermaine, I don't know. Jermaine's question was just floating out there. I don't know if she wants to answer that first.
Well, let's have the same questions for both candidates.
So
Okay.
speaking to the question before about if there was a little bit of confusion as to what position goes where, I think that I would meet with the VP and I would talk about what the goals were and what we were trying to accomplish and see if we can break down those goals into smaller tasks and kind of put them into boxes as to, okay, this fits more with the club side and this is more the committee side, and see if we can split it up that way. I realize that not everything's going to be a perfect split, but I think that by trying to break bigger tasks down into smaller ones, it'll make it easier to kind of break up.
All right, thank you. Great question, great answer. Anyone else have any questions?
I'm gonna ask you the same question I asked before. And like I said, there's no right or wrong answer. So if a classmate or someone even in the SGA committee were to ask you to do something that you consider unethical, how would you approach that?
I think if someone asked me to do something that I consider unethical, but they did not, that indicates to me that there's some sort of miscommunication going on, and perhaps I'm not understanding what their end goal is, or perhaps they're not understanding why I'm not super comfortable with it. So I tried to get to the bottom of that and see if we can get on the same page. If for some reason we couldn't, and honestly, I did not believe in what they were doing, I think that I would have to be firm in saying, I hear you. I think that this might be something that we could work on with some tweaking, but as is the way that it stands, I don't feel comfortable proceeding. And then if for any reason that weren't okay or kept escalating, I have very little issue with including the rest of student government in that discussion, perhaps finding a middle ground.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And now we're going to be moving on to our Public Relations Director candidacy. So first up, we have student Dr. Daniel Kaufman. Daniel?
Hello, I am student Dr. Kaufman for those that don't know me, but you guys can just call me Dan. I am a first year student here at Toro. I am originally from the Poconos, and like Nick, I am also not very great at public speaking, so please excuse my ums and ahs. And if you hear any barking in the background, also sorry. My dog is kind of right here. So over the past semester at Toro, I've been on the Public Relations Committee. It was a brand new committee created for this past semester, and I worked closely with Veronica Livingston and the past Public Relations Director, Chris. Over the past semester and over the past couple of weeks, we've been putting together a newsletter for the community and for Toro, and that should be released within the next 3 weeks, I think we said, by the 15th of February. Along with the newsletter, we also created Instagram posts and Facebook posts for the websites and the Facebook groups. And I also became familiar with the Google Suites software. It's the software that the SGA uses for their website and community posts. With that being said, I am familiar with the roles and responsibilities of Public Relations Director, and I feel as though my knowledge could make a seamless transition from the previous Public Relations relations director. My previous experiences include being a house manager back in my undergrad career. Dealt with a lot of money management, and I know that's mostly treasurer's job. Sorry, my dog's peeking in. Mostly treasurer's job, but I know that the Patagonia order is mostly public relations related. So I am experienced with money management. And overall, I just kind of get stuff done and I don't have excuses. I don't submit late assignments and I just kind of get stuff done. And I also have experience as being an ambassador. I was an ambassador for a fellow medical school and Toro. So I know how to present myself to both the institution and community. And some ideas I had for the public relations, Chris had a great idea that we weren't able to do because of COVID, tables at the mall, just to get our name out there to the community, basically show them there's a medical school in Middletown, maybe some brand building on top of that, and continuing the newsletter and expanding upon the public relations committee.
All right, thank you so much. Do we have any questions? I think we have one here from Zoraida. Zoraida, go ahead. Or are you clapping?
Oh, I meant to clap. But great ideas, Daniel.
Thank you.
Great. So I had a question real quick. All right, Odie's asking, are you running with your dog?
Yeah, she's right here.
Nice, nice. Okay, so I think just one question I have is, how do you expect to manage your SGA responsibilities with the second year curriculum?
So one thing I'm very good at is adjusting. I'm very good at adjusting my schedule and how I allot my time to things. So when I took my master's, it was at a different medical school, but I took on the responsibilities of ambassador and also a SGA representative. So I do have the experience of having the role and allotting my time and responsibilities to get everything I need to get done.
All right, thank you. We have a question, Odie.
Yeah, okay, so as PR director, for the record, your dog's adorable, oh my gosh, and a pink leash, you got it. Anyways, so as the PR director, like, you're pretty much like the SGA swag wizard. You're responsible for the SGA's like appeal, like the vision that is SGA. So assuming you're talking to like your future SGA mates, how would you get them excited for what you will do with the SGA image?
I would just say that we gotta like build our brand. I mean, I think building the brand would get anybody excited. I mean, when I first got here, I got a pen for interviewing. So I guess the first thing would be the welcome packages. We just got them like 2 weeks ago. So I would say getting those like when we start school would be great. I think that would be something to get excited about. And I guess other, stuff we all get, swag, just random stuff to hand out. It gets everybody excited.
All right, thank you. We have one question. Jermaine, go ahead. You have under a minute.
I apologize for all the questions, but how would you have great ideas, and that's why I kind of wanted to ask, how do you plan on reaching out to students who don't have Facebook or Instagram or whatever, these like social media? How would you reach out to them with all the Toro updates and the magazine or the newsletter?
Well, I would think it would start with identifying who those students are. If we were able to identify who those students were, we would be able to stay in contact with them, regardless if they have social media or not. So say if someone didn't have social media, we were aware, we could send them the same updates in an email or possibly a text. That's just one idea I have.
All right. Thank you so much. That's great answers, great questions. John, do you have a question? Or you?
No, I just wanted to say for those who might not know, Jermine is the immediate past SGA president. She's a current third year. She said she's doing her PEDS rotation right now. But I just wanted you all to know who she is, and we're very appreciative that she's here with us.
Yes, we are, and we enjoy your questions. All right, so moving on, we're going to go to the next Public Relations Director candidate, student Dr. Nisha Sheikh. Nisha, you got the floor.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Nisha, and I'm here today to share with all of you about who I am and why I believe I would be a fitting candidate for Public Relations Director at ToroCom. Looking back on this past year, we have seen more changes and have adjusted our lives far more than one normally does in a lifetime. But as all future physicians, I know we all have the capability to adapt to change, but that should not be a task we do on our own. I'm looking at our current SGA, I can truly see how vital they were in making our first year at Toro easier. They were by our side and stood up for us when needed. Running for SGA was something I thought long and hard about. I want to do my part to help my student peers and be the voice they need. Being a peer or director will allow me to be an outlet and communicator between my peers and our faculty. My main goal is to unify our strong-knit family here at Toro. I want every student to know and feel heard. I want every student to know they're not alone and want them to have trust in their SGA representatives. If elected as PR director, I have a vision for our school that I want to bring to light. One such idea is creating an easier and standardized way for faculty and administration to communicate with us students. I wish to make the student body and faculty more interactive through social media and networking by using it on a larger scale and through digital platforms. With the COVID-19 pandemic pushing us all online, I've seen the struggles we have faced, and I want to make it easier for all of us to celebrate each victory and elaborate each concern. I want us to feel close, even though we all are socially distant. I want school pride to grow. Creating a brand new school store where we can purchase school apparel and gear is another goal of mine that I want to accomplish, and as if voted for PR director. I mean, who doesn't love a good sweatshirt with their school name on it, like the ones we just got? I also wanted to widen the selection of Patagonia that we have and make it more unique to each student by adding our names and our titles, since all of us are so diverse and come from different backgrounds, and we should all be celebrating that. I want us to have a school newspaper. I want the writers and artists at our school to share their talents and give the student body and faculty a place where they can read current events, varying opinions, and even laugh at a comic. We are Middletown's main attraction here, and I want us to not just be students at Toro, but strong members of the Middletown community. I have a vision for us making larger strides for our neighbors. Planning events that involve the surrounding community has been difficult this last year, but I intend to implement community nights with members in a unique and new way that will fit our current circumstances we have been faced with, and I want us all to know that voting for me is voting for someone who will constantly be your voice. I strive to make us feel more connected and comfortable. I want us to be unified and make our time here enjoyable and memorable. Thank you for your time, and I truly do appreciate all of you considering me for candidacy as PR director. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
All right, thank you so much. We have some clapping reactions from John.
Thanks, John.
And Odie, question?
Yeah. Hi, Nisha. So yeah, my question's pretty much the same. So imagine you're talking to the rest of the team. How are you going to give them like that mouth-watering reaction to what you want to do with the Face SGA?
I know a lot of people we haven't really met in person, but I was a master's student. So I know the master's students that know me know that I'm very talkative. I like to talk to a lot of different people and get different ideas. So I think the best way to make everyone so excited is by making sure that their ideas are also like something that I would consider to make. I want to make it more of like a blend between all of us, not just, oh, PR director does this job. I definitely think that using things like digital platforms has been pretty big this last year. So making that more widespread. I remember talking to Chris, he said one of the difficult parts is getting people to be more excited about the Instagram post. So maybe making it more like unified, showing and elaborating students that are in our school instead of just posting things that they might pass by.
All right, thank you so much. I have a question as well. Under Chris, the previous public relations director, he did student spotlights and stuff. Do you have any ideas on how you can expand on that, or maybe include clubs, other clubs such as the 3D printing club, they're doing other things. So how can you highlight that better?
Yeah, I'm laughing because Chris is saying that he's the current one. He doesn't want to be referred to as the past. Yeah, I think the student spotlights are something that I love reading. I actually read every single one. I like knowing where they all come from and what they've done before. So making that maybe more of like a weekly thing, or making it even like club spotlights being a thing. I know, especially this year, I don't know all the committees and what everyone does. So maybe having like each committee getting to write their own post and sharing what they've done, what they do. I think that'll make everyone more excited about what the school's been doing behind the scenes.
All right, thank you so much. All right, and last up for Public Relations Director, we have Audrey, student Dr. Audrey Simpson.
Hi, everyone.
Sorry, there was one question. There was one question. Sorry to interrupt. I don't know if the person gave up, but there was one last question.
If there is a question, please submit it in the chat. Anyone have a question? All right, it might have been an accident or something. All right, sorry. Continue, Audrey.
You're fine. Hi, guys. My name is Audrey Simpson, and I am running for the current Public Relations Director chair. I know that I haven't gotten the chance to meet a lot of you guys yet, so I wanted to start off by giving a brief introduction to who I am. I'm from Pennsylvania, and I graduated from Ursinus College, which is a little tiny college about an hour outside Philly, in 2019. And I also did the master's program here last year at Toro. More interesting facts about me are that I was a dance major in college, and also I have an adorable pet hedgehog named Hamilton. One of my favorite quotes is "Be the change you wish to see in the world," and I really think that that quote kind of resonates as to why I want to run for this position. I think that as students here at Toro, we have the opportunity to the power to do things that will not only change the lives of other students, but also for the greater community. And I really am passionate about showing others what an amazing place Toro is and really being that change that I want to see. After I talked to Chris about his role, I realized to an even greater extent, how important it is to show people outside of the Toro family, like what we do here. And I think as the public relations director, I really want to expand on the work that Chris has done, making the SGA website a cohesive place of information, not only for current students, but also prospective students. I know that it can be really hard to, keep track of, oh, what is this committee or club, like what does it stand for, what events are they having on campus, and I feel like having it all in one place instead of scattered through emails and Facebook, it would be really streamlined and would also be great for prospective students to be able to hop on the website and see what are we doing at Toro, why is this place so awesome. In conjunction with also making information more accessible, I definitely want to do more outreach to the community. I think that it would be awesome to, do things like with local schools, even if we're providing just like basic health education to high school students, or, going and doing arts and crafts with elementary school students. It really shows that, we're not just here to be med school students, that we, live here too, and we're part of their community. I also feel like it would be great to, reach out to undergraduate institutions and really show who we are at Toro, to get more people interested in coming here and really show us, what makes us stand out. Doing something like a student panel would be something that I would be interested in starting, and working with the student ambassadors, which I'm also a part of, to, make that happen. I also want to expand on our relationships with more local businesses by bringing more of them to campus for events such as Toro Day. I feel like it's been really, really hard this year for all of us to gauge not only with each other, but also get acquainted with the Middletown community. And I think, creating more communication with the local businesses and us will allow, us students to really understand what Middletown is all about, and also make it feel like a place that they can really call home over the next 4 years. I think that's important, since we are living here. Additionally to that, I also really want to revamp our student store to make more useful and fun apparel. I actually helped Psych Sig with coming up with the idea to do the Toro bag fundraiser this year with the medical bags and the drawstring bags. So creating apparel that we can use not only at our time here at Toro, but after that, in things that aren't just sweatshirts or pens or hoodies, would be great to do. I think that would be something important as well. That being said, public relations is not just about making fun apparel and making cool Instagram, social media posts. It's really about connecting students with each other and also like the greater community. And I am really excited to try and bring some of my ideas to life. And I really hope that you will choose me to be your SGA next public relations director. It would be an absolute honor, and I hope to have the opportunity to better serve you all. If you have any questions, please let me know.
All right, thank you so much. That's a great speech. Does anyone have any questions? Clapping from John.
Oh, I was just gonna say,
go ahead.
I have the exact same question. So you, PR director equals like swag wizard person. So to the rest of your future SGA mates, like give them a preview of what like the face of SGA is gonna look like with Audrey as PR director.
Sure. So I think first of all, I would want to get like input from, we're working together as a team. So like, I obviously don't want to like make stuff that, they're not going to be excited about. So getting input from other people, and I'm also an artist. So I think drawing up some stuff and being like, hey, like, what do you guys think of this? Using different, custom ink and stuff like that to design stuff and be like, guys, like, what do you think about this? Like, I'm super excited about this. I try to like emanate my energy to other people. So I think, collaborating and working together, but then also like me myself being super excited about it will also hopefully make other people excited about it too. And then obviously, I want to hype it up like by then, once I get my teammates' approval, kind of like blast it on social media and be like, guys, like check this out. This is going to be coming soon. Like get ready, get ready, get ready. That way, whenever it's like finally ready, then people are like, yes, I'm so excited.
Thank you very
That
much.
was a very enthusiastic response. So now, have any kind of questions?
Just a response to John's comment. You are not the swag wizard. Like, don't even.
Actually, I have a quick question. What would you do to increase our presence on Instagram, Facebook, all that kind of stuff? Because you are representing our school, and I feel like nowadays most people are kind of looking at that when they're going to apply for schools and whatnot.
Yeah, I definitely think that social media should, be used more to highlight the stuff that we're doing on campus. I know like Instagram stories are like a big thing, and you can like, theme them to be based on certain things. So I think it'd be cool to have like, here's community service, here's like our clubs, here's the student spotlights. And that way, like even once the story goes away, like it would still be like on the top page, if that makes sense. So it'd be like super accessible if somebody is just like, a potential student and they want to like look on there, they're going to be able to see those stories like easy enough.
Amazing. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. We're going to have to move on now. So now we're going to treasurer. We have one candidate for treasurer who is running unopposed, student Dr. Roshni Sethi. Roshni, you have the floor.
Hi, can everyone hear me? Okay,
Yes.
My name is Roshni Sethi, and I hope to serve as your SGA treasurer for the upcoming year. First and foremost, I am so grateful to be part of such a passionate and hardworking community, and I look forward to working with as many classmates as I can in the upcoming years. I believe that I have the responsible nature, attention to detail, and financial knowledge that the position of SGA treasurer requires. During my gap year, I worked as a medical assistant at an allergy and immunology clinic. Part of my role included in organizing and keeping track of reimbursements to patients from their insurance companies and working closely with the billing manager, which helped me to develop a familiarity with the financial side of the process. If elected, I know that I can fulfill the responsibilities specifically required of the treasurer, including managing money, reimbursing student organizations, and communicating closely between students and administration. On the note of communication, my time working in that role, as well as other experiences during my undergraduate career, have reaffirmed to me the importance of interpersonal skills and being part of a larger team. As a student at the Pennsylvania State University, I was president of the Pre-Medical Honor Society, which involved working closely with administration to organize admitted students' days and communicate with prospective students. I'm very comfortable with team-based roles that require student-to-student outreach, as well as being a liaison between students and school administration. While these experiences have helped me to fine-tune my financial, organizational, and interpersonal skills, ultimately, I think I would succeed in this role because I care a lot about this school. I believe that we all have the ability to impact each other's experience at Toro in hundreds of ways every day, whether it's through engagement, like taking an interest in opportunities and Zoom talks, or brainstorming for solutions to problems that we all face, being a listening ear for a fellow student, or sharing information and resources with each other to not only raise the ceiling of what we individually can achieve, but to also raise the foundation for all of us. Above all, I would be grateful for the ability to impact the student experience on a more macro level. I know that the previous SGA helped shape my experience here. They took an experience that was virtual and limited in many ways, and they found ways to connect to us, to connect to the school, to relay our concerns in real time, and remind us that they're here for us. I look forward to learning from them. For the upcoming year, I have a few ideas that I look forward to discussing with the student body. They're related to getting national funding for more of our student organizations to supplement our school funding, and potentially starting a peer-based tutoring system. You can read more about these ideas in my letter of intent. But while I do have ideas, I know that if elected, we become the podium for your ideas and for your concerns as Toro students. I look forward to that opportunity. Thank you very much for your consideration for the position of SGA Treasurer, and I open the floor for any questions.
All right, thank you so much. I'm so sorry about not saying your name properly before. I think we have a question from Amrinder. Amrinder, go ahead.
My question is, suppose a club comes up, because you're dealing with a lot of clubs, a club comes up and submits reimbursements for more than what they submitted. What would you do in that case?
Well, first I would want to meet with the point of contact for that club to kind of find out what happened, like where did they underestimate their expenses. And then if I had the funds to fund their request, I would do my best to fund it, because I think ultimately my goal is to enable the opportunities and the ideas of these organizations. So if I can, I will. And I would talk to them to try and figure out how it could not happen again, or how they could better estimate their financial needs so that I don't come up short.
All right, thank you so much.
I have a question. So I was actually wondering, how are you planning to, build that communication bridge with students that are not on social media, or that don't necessarily are out there too much? Because, I do think just having that one specific platform where just announcements are made, or all these plans that, you talk about want to develop, they're just specific to one medium. So how do you plan to, communicate with other students in the class and kind of make sure that they also feel like you're approachable, that how do you plan to be flexible to those students?
I think that's a very good question. And even for students who do have those platforms, sometimes it can be very overwhelming. I know for me, there could be 100 GroupMe messages, and it's so much to sort through. I know we've had other people like Michael in our first year class who created a Slack workspace, which helps to pin things in different categories, which is a little more readable than GroupMe. But like someone was saying earlier, I think it might have been Daniel, I think we first need to identify who those students are who aren't really comfortable with social media or all of those other platforms, and find other ways to engage with them, whether it's through email, whether it's through personally text messaging them. I think that it's important to increase the diversity of how you're getting the message out, and then hopefully you can close the gaps and get as many students as possible that way.
All right, thank you so much. Just want to clarify, Roshni is running for treasurer, not PR director, just in case there was any kind of misunderstanding or miscommunication. But that was a great answer, and thank you so much. Are there any other questions on the floor? Odie, go ahead.
Hi there, Roshni. So my question for you is, given COVID, like last year, clubs would spend a good amount of money on whether it be food or something for an outdoor activity. But now that everything's virtual, clubs are finding less motivation to essentially request money. What ideas can you bring to clubs or other student groups, because committees are a thing too, and so is like MetaChief and stuff. So what ideas would you bring forth in terms of how they could spend their money for virtual resources that might benefit or enhance their events or whatever they want to do?
That's a good question. I'm hoping that will become less virtual as time goes on, because when you are virtual, I mean, the pro to that is that you are saving money, but we have the funding, so it's important to use that. I guess something I could encourage them to do is maybe create socially distant events if they can, for either members of their organization or for other students. Like for example, I know that a local school organization just did a table in the lobby a few days ago. So, which is kind of like a little bit more of a distant way to do something in person. And I know that could come with related expenses. Other than that, maybe if there are speakers who charge for their services, who could come and talk to our student body, that could be something that we could put money towards as well.
Thank you for that.
All right, thank you so much. Now moving on, we're going to be going to our vice president candidates. So first up, we have student Dr. Samantha Dion. Samantha.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Samantha Dion, and I am a first year and a class representative here at ToroCom Middletown. I grew up in Newtown, Connecticut, and attended the University of Connecticut for undergrad, where I received my BS in physiology and neurobiology and served as the president for the Learning Community Executive Council, among other experiences. Thinking back to what attracted me to Toro Middletown, I can't help but reminisce about my interview day and how shocked I was to see that there were students around the school that were smiling. I didn't think that medical students could be happy the way that Toro students seem to be. And I even remember asking the student ambassador that I was with that day if the smiles were real. And rest assured, she told me that not only were they real, but it was exam day. I was astonished that medical students could be genuinely happy the way that the students here were at all, let alone on exam day. To me, all the smiles that I saw that day spoke volumes about the support network that students have here. And as SGA Vice President, I hope to bring smiles to more faces of students, even if they are under masks for now. And I will do that by maintaining open avenues of continuous communication, fostering connections, and promoting success among the student body. As VP, communication between SGA and administration, as well as between SGA and other students, would be of my utmost concern. I will accomplish maintaining clear and open channels of communication by making myself accessible by email, text, face-to-face meetings that are socially distanced, or over Zoom to make sure that I am the best representative of the student voice. In addition, I would hold office hours and work with the rest of the SGA officers to host monthly SGA town hall meetings following Dean Steyer's town halls, so students can provide feedback, recommendations, voice what they're happy about, as well as voice things that may need improvement. I also hope to grow the communication between the SGA VP and the student representatives from all classes, committees, and clubs. In doing this, I will promote continued transparency between students, administration, and the SGA while creating spaces for student voices to be heard. Connections are a key part of being a physician, are one of the main reasons that I decided to make Toro Middletown my home, and are part of the reason that I strive to keep my camera on during Zoom lectures. Because I know how forming connections with your peers can transform your education, I want to help all Toro Middletown students form stronger and more connections by making myself available to talk to fellow students, near and far, to learn about their hopes, goals, and challenges while at Toro. Better understanding our student population will help me better understand how our students can best be supported on their journeys to becoming physicians. Additionally, as VP, I would build up networking opportunities available to Toro Middletown students by sharing the connections that I make at local and national conferences to allow for the development of relationships not only between Middletown and Harlem campuses, but also with other medical schools in the surrounding areas. I would also promote connection between the current students and Toro graduates by reaching out to the alumni to grow the span of webinars available to students revolving around different fields of medicine and research. I additionally would help organize study groups for both MS and DO students, similar to the study groups that SGA rolled out this semester, to better allow for connection between the different classes, especially while the master's students are completely virtual. Furthermore, I would strive to further the connections between professors and students at any level in the ToroCom journey by coordinating with faculty, students, and the curriculum committee to organize optional grand roundtable conversations revolving around the implications that different course curricula have with various clinical cases. I would also contribute to student wellness and success. I know that some of the best resources that we have as students are those that have walked in our shoes before us. So as VP, I would help coordinate sharing knowledge about success. This would come in the form of compiling tips for success in all courses at as many clinical sites as possible and for boards prep. As VP, I would also advocate for student success by finding ways to provide continued academic support for students beyond their first year when TAs are no longer available. Working with course faculty, I would form lists of students that volunteered to answer questions about subject material in different classes, in different fields of rotation, or at different locations that Toro Middletown students regularly rotate at. I would also continue to advocate for the expansion of resources available to students through the library, especially online ones with remote access, like advocating for Sketchy to be provided to first-year students in addition to the second-year students that already receive it. I would also like to expand on the clubs available to students to better accommodate for the diverse interests of our student body. This past week in Yoga with Lenora, we did a pose called the Humble Warrior. This pose is intended to represent both strength and humility. And if you choose to elect me as your next SGA Vice President, those are two traits that I intend to display on a daily basis as I represent you all and honor those smiles that many of you shared with me on my interview day. Should you elect me your next SGA VP, I will utilize the skills that I have gained in my aforementioned leadership roles to best serve as your humble warrior as I strive to maintain open channels of communication, promote connection and community, and provide support in a manner that elevates student success and wellness.
All right, thank you so much. Do we have any questions?
I have a couple questions. VP, a position close to my heart. Hi, Sam. Great job with the speech. So question number one, looking at the current situation, of course, all the SGA members will be starting like this semester. So you're going to deal with this semester problems. So we're dealing with COVID. A lot of our events are pretty much virtual. We've seen virtual events as they could be done as they go on next year. How do you see like virtual events evolving? What does a virtual event in the 2021 to 2022 year look like in comparison to 2020 and 2021?
Like Roshni was just talking about, I think that the virtual platform brings in a huge opportunity for us to have speakers come talk to different clubs and to connect different clubs to different physicians that are, in their area of interest, or just different physicians that also relate to what their club is centralized around, to help talk to our students about how, whether it's an interest outside of medicine, how they can relate that interest into their practice as a physician, or whether it's revolving around medicine or research, how they can make sure that they're enriching their current education to best set them up for success down the road. I think that bringing in speakers we can bring them in from anywhere across the United States without having to pay for airfare and without having to pay a lot of travel fees and different things like that. So I think that I would definitely want to encourage clubs to reach out to different speakers to see if they can get responses from speakers that they're interested in holding. And I think that that could be a great way to, elevate some of our student events. In addition to that, I also think that our class seems to be a huge fan of Kahoot. So we could have some, Kahoot trivia nights, find ways to potentially promote, camaraderie within our class just with social events like that would be awesome.
Nice. Fun fact, apparently Dr. Mike has once did a thing with Turo, so it'd be great to have him back. Second question.
Sorry, Odie, can you save these questions for the end?
Sure.
Sorry about that. All right, we're going to move on to our second VP candidate, and that's going to be student Dr. Lindsay Sbarro. Lindsay, you have the floor.
Hello, my name is Lindsay Sbarro, and I'm running to be your next SGA Vice President. And yes, it is Sbarro like the pizza chain, in case you were wondering. No, I cannot get you a free slice. I want to begin by stating something that may be obvious. This past year has been one of the most challenging of our lives. With this in mind, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the great adaptability of not only the faculty and staff here at Turo, but of the students of our MS and DO classes. Medical school is not easy, even under normal circumstances, so I truly commend you in your effort to keep pushing forward through this difficult year. In fact, it's your determination that has pushed me to run for SGA. I actually wasn't initially intending on running, but after watching each of you take the challenges of this past year in stride, I decided that I wanted to do more as a student at Turo and for my classmates. Because we have been remote since early 2020, some of you have probably never met me in person or only know me as probably this. Do I look more familiar now? Maybe I do, I don't know. So I want to take a little bit of time to introduce myself to you speed dating style. I'm originally from Philadelphia, PA, go Eagles, no one at me in the chat. I have an adorable cat named Bee. And I recently learned that I actually enjoy bagels. I just had not tried one from New York yet. Previously, I was an MS student here at Thoreau, so I'm familiar with the school and the way things function throughout a typical year. As an undergraduate student, I gained leadership experience by working on many Greek life committees and serving as secretary and vice president for my sorority. Through these opportunities, I learned to advocate for students with university faculty and staff. I attended national events, and I am comfortable speaking in front of large audiences. Thus, I would be able to effectively communicate with Thoreau faculty and leadership. I am also well prepared to manage my school and SGA obligations in both first and second year. I may have not always known I wanted to be a physician, but one thing for me has remained constant. When I decide to do something, I do it because I'm passionate and I give it my all. I respect the work that all of you put into every committee, every club, and every event you're part of. I believe the best way to honor your work is by doing everything I can to advocate for you and what you're passionate about and help you navigate the Thoreau system to make your ideas a reality. I love being a student at Thoreau, and I feel extremely privileged every day to get to be a student in the class of 2024. Being away from home has been very difficult for me, but here I found a new family. Although I can feel the supportive environment through the screen, I know that a lot of us are struggling. We're struggling to keep motivated, struggling with isolation, or struggling with the impact the pandemic has had on our families and loved ones. That is why, as SGA Vice President, my mission would be simple: to be supportive to all students, emphasize student involvement in the spirit of mental health, and help successfully transition us from online to in-person education. To me, this means accomplishing a few of the following things. 1, I want to work closely with the Harlem campus to streamline communication. I want to provide students a chance to speak with both a Middletown and Harlem SGA-led panel each month. This would be a chance for students from both campuses to voice their concerns and ensure that we can work towards a unified solution with as much transparency as possible. 2, I want to increase our school's involvement with the Middletown community to help students feel more at home. Specifically, I want to create a community outreach committee, which would plan events introducing new students or old to the fun things there are to do in the area. 3, I want to emphasize involvement in Thoreau's many clubs. For a lot of us, being part of a club may not feel accessible this year, as most of our time is spent online. I want to show students that it's never too late to get involved, working with club leaders to reintroduce these opportunities to students who may feel that they are too late. And 4, I want to make it an initiative to reach out to our 3rd and 4th years as they are on rotations to remind them that we are still here supporting them every step of the way. Specifically, I want to work with the wellness, social, and clinical rotations committees to plan events to spotlight their accomplishments and better connect our classes. While these are just a few of my ideas, I know there are many more things to accomplish this year, and I look forward to that challenge. I may not be able to promise you a perfect solution to every problem. No one can promise you that. But I can confidently say that if I am elected your next SGA VP, you will be heard, you will be understood, and you will be validated in any concerns you may have. This is your home too. Every single one of you has worked hard to get to this moment in your life. I believe that each of us deserves to have a rewarding experience while we are here, and I would be extremely honored to serve as your next SGA VP to help make this a reality. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Let's open it up for questions. Does anybody have any questions? Raise your hand.
Can I just ask the same question, or start off with asking the same question? So,
Go ahead.
hey, Lindsay, great job.
Hi.
So, very same question, virtual stuff. Just how do you see virtual events evolving in the event that we have to continue with them?
Yeah, that's for me, that's definitely a main focus too of this year if I get to be on SGA, because I feel like the way that virtual events are run currently are fun, but I think for at least for my own class, the main issue is that a lot of us just can't keep track of what's going on when, or maybe don't know about a lot of the events that are going on. So for me, I think it would be a matter of working with whoever's the chair for any sort of public relations stuff to start getting the word out to our students more platforms so that we can have more students attend. Because I do think that we are obviously limited with a virtual platform. Like obviously I've experienced both Thoreau like in person as well as online, and there's only so much you can do. But as Sam suggested, like the Kahoot is always great. Like our class, for some reason, we all jive with that a lot. So finding other games that we can do online, or maybe just something simple like that would be great. But yeah, mostly it's just about getting our classmates to participate. I feel like that's the biggest hurdle with online events.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And with that, we're going to move on to our last position, the position for president for SGA. Our first candidate today that's going to be speaking is going to be student Dr. Jessica Kroner. Jessica?
Hi, everyone. First, I want to start off by saying thank you for coming tonight or watching the Zoom recording. As many of you may know, I'm Jess, and I'm a former master's student from the class of 2020, as many of my fellow running mates, and I'm running to be your next SGA president. I've been an active member of the Toro-Com Middletown community since arriving here last year. Right off the bat, I ran for class representative, partly because not many students were running and I knew the positions needed to be filled, but largely with the goal in mind of helping to foster a positive and cohesive learning environment for our master's class. This master's program I knew was going to be a pivotal role in my career. At the time, I was incredibly unaware of how pivotal of a role class rep would be, not only in my time here, but in my life as a whole. This might come as a shock to many of you, but I have some very shy tendencies. Before coming to Toro, I didn't like to be involved in much. I don't like to go to huge parties, and I'm much more of having a movie night in or hanging out with a small group of friends. But I think having been born and raised right in our backyard helps make me feel more comfortable here and to really make Toro my home. I'm from Rockland County, which is about 40 minutes away, and my aunt and uncle live 15 minutes up the road on 50 acres of land. So to say that I've felt at home from the moment I arrived on campus would be an understatement. Holding the position of class rep for just the 2 years that I have has shown me a lot about what it means to work as a team, be professional, and the importance of having our voices heard as a student body. I've been working closely with our current SGA since the start of the pandemic in order to ensure a smooth transition to online learning, relay student concerns, and make changes where possible. This experience has helped foster my communication skills and my ability to listen to others effectively. 2 qualities that I not only work on improving daily, but I think are critical for being SGA president. It is important that whoever holds this position is able to remain professional and respectful towards our peers and our administration. For those that don't know, I'm a type 1 diabetic and I have been for 20 years next week. Being a mentor to newly diagnosed families has shown me that having compassion for others and listening to all perspectives and points of view is important in building a solid foundation. I want our school to continue to be a source of pride for each of us. One thing in particular that drew me to Toro was the small, tight-knit sense of community. The idea that everyone I spoke to loved being here, loved the faculty, and loved learning is not only something I value, but I think the majority of us value. I think Sam also can agree. As president, I plan to ensure this continues by listening to all points of view and all concerns. My desire to pursue a career in medicine not only stems from my medical conditions, but my passion to help people. And more so than just help people, I want to improve the lives of others. It's not just a Band-Aid for me. I want to get to the root cause of things and solve the problem, which is why I pour my heart and soul into everything I do. Every project, task, lecture video, friendship, or otherwise. And being president of our school will be no different. I've always been someone that's very organized and works well with deadlines, qualities that I think will further enrich my ability to carry out this presidential position appropriately. As a result of my experiences thus far, I feel as though I'm well prepared to continue the hard work and dedication to our school and the community as a whole. Our current SGA has made several changes this past year, aside from the overwhelming transition to a virtual platform, that I'm excited to see grow, particularly the involvement of clubs and committees. I intend to make sure that these positions are supported properly so that they can continue to flourish and make our school stand out among the rest. We all know how incredibly dedicated our staff and faculty are to our education and providing us with the best opportunities to reach our full potential as future physicians. I plan to continue to foster this enriching environment in addition to demonstrating all the good we have to offer to prospective students, other comms, and our Middletown community. But certainly last but not least, I plan to continue working with our administration to see that the student body concerns are addressed and that we get out of this pandemic healthier than when we entered it. My ultimate goal as president is to make sure that each student feels like their voice is heard and valued, while simultaneously making your time here memorable and fulfilling. As I said in my letter of intent, I know that our current SGA leaves some big shoes to fill, but I'm confident that myself, along with any of these other remarkable candidates, will be able to continue the legacy left by this past year's SGA and the years before them. I look forward to a great year ahead for all of us and being your next SGA president. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you so much. Opening up the floor for questions. John?
Ali, what I'd like to do is have both candidates give their speeches, and then I'll give the questions to them at the same time.
All right, sounds good. Does anyone else have any questions for right now?
I have
All
a
right,
quick
let's move
question.
on. All right, sorry.
Sorry.
Haley.
How would you manage the responsibilities of being the president along with the second year course load?
So first, I think being a former master's student has definitely put me in a good position for this role. Having taken majority of our classes before, I'm able to, I think, better balance my schedule in terms of reviewing content, learning new content, but as well as taking on this position. I'm also very organized in terms of my schedule. I typically work in work blocks, and I'm really good at setting boundaries for myself in that regard as well. One thing I do want to implement as SGA president is somewhat of an office hours. And so I think that that will also help me to budget my time effectively. Briefly, I think this would consist of, for now, over Zoom, but having the ability for students to come and address their concerns using the waiting room feature to make it more confidential or anonymous if they feel that's necessary. And so I think by implementing this, I'll be able to, like I said, budget my time in terms of those hours are set for SGA responsibilities, whether that be student concerns or emails or other administrative work.
All right, thank you so much. And we are out of time. So now we're going to move on to our second and final candidate for the day. And that's going to be student Dr. Samuel Briggs. Sam is running for president, and you have the floor.
Thanks, Oli. Hey, everybody. My name's Sam Briggs. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to stick around and listen. Just a bit of background on me before I talk a little bit about my platform. So I'm coming from a different perspective than your average applicant to SGA. I worked at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center for 8 years before I got my Toro acceptance letter. I started as a clinical research associate. I'm sure we have some CRAs amongst our class. I loved it. I loved the academic medical center environment, and I worked my butt off. By the time I retired in July, I was a program manager, and I was overseeing a really large chunk of their clinical research program and a number of staff. So I don't say that to, make myself sound big-headed or pump my tires or anything, but I see a lot of overlap in what I was doing professionally for 8 years and what the responsibilities of the SGA president are. So I was writing and drafting proposals. I was creating budgets. I was having difficult conversations with executives and department chairs. I was, as I said, advocating for staff, and I was delegating work. So even taking a step back from all that, I think that I have strong professionalism. I have a great sense of respect for my colleagues, and I'm accountable for what I say and what I tell you I'm going to do. So I've got to be honest then. It would be disingenuous for me to say that COVID and the school's response to COVID hasn't played a huge role in my desire to run for this position. I think there's been a lack of transparency about policy decisions to students. And one of the most important things to me initially in the SGA role would be to increase transparency so that students know why some of these decisions are being made. Because I think that'll make us feel more part of the ToroComp community. It'll make us feel safer, and it'll allow us to help brainstorm potential creative solutions to reshape policies. So next, I'm sure you guys saw wherever you get your news that Step 2 CS was discontinued today. I was planning to talk about boards as a big point for me, and this just adds even more momentum. So the class of 2024 is the first class that's taken these pass-fail. This is a huge, huge deal, and it's something that we need to focus on. It's going to apply to the master's students as well. So we don't really know what program directors are looking for. Maybe they're looking for Step 2 board scores. Who knows? But we got to be creative. We're a diverse, creative, forward-thinking student population, and we've really got to put our heads together on this. So just a subset of ideas that I had as I was sort of brainstorming my platform for this is we got to make audition rotations and research opportunities more available to students, something that they're told about very early in the process and something where the process is easy. I had a chance to talk to a lot of second-year students as I was brainstorming, and it sounds like audition rotations aren't the most transparent system in the school right now. And those are going to become so important as these boards start going pass fail, and people need to differentiate themselves to residency coordinators. As I said it initially, I mean, I have a lot of experience with research administration, with IRB management, all that comes with that. And I really want to work with Dr. Jens, Dr. Manna, Angela, and the APSA to bolster Toro's homegrown research program. I want to get all those national and New York State grants out to students early so that we can apply for them and make a name for ourselves amongst the comms and amongst all medical schools nationwide. So you can probably tell, you know, moving on, that, I mean, I'm a pretty no BS guy, okay? So I don't want 15 emails, I want one email. I don't want 5 calendars, I want one calendar. I want everybody to know where to look, whether they're in SGA or they're not in SGA. I don't want opportunities to get lost. My job is about making people's lives easier day to day. I want to create a forum or a website with organized materials and organized resources. I don't want people that need to worry about staying up with the group me or staying on the Facebook stream to see what they need to see. So lastly, I don't want to run over time here, but mental health is another thing that I really want to emphasize. It's something I'm going to spend a lot of time on. It gets super lonely on Zoom. And there's a lot of heavy stuff going on the world, as people alluded to. It's really hard to meet people if they're not your year. I've valued second year insight. I've gotten to meet some second years through SIM and some other opportunities. And I think we need to do everything we can to facilitate more of that. Whether that's happy hours, movie clubs, the Quizzo that people mentioned is a great idea, more mentoring, you name it. I mean, it's worth trying. If the plan doesn't work, if an idea doesn't work, I mean, that's okay. We can build it back up and try something again new. So I'm ready to work hard. I hope you can tell this is something I'm really passionate about. And again, thank you so much for your time.
All right, thank you so much, Sam. Does anyone have any questions specifically for Sam?
Let's have him answer the same question that Jessica had, and then to also address Naomi's question, and I'll ask my questions a little bit later.
All right.
Okay, so the question was from Haley about balancing my coursework.
Yes.
Yeah, so as I said, I mean, I'm coming from a different perspective, right? So I was working in a very demanding professional setting before I came to med school. My organizational skills are on point, and I'm very efficient at delegating work. And I mean, I've taken leadership management classes, Six Sigma, you name it. So I have bandwidth. I've thought a lot about running, whether it's right for me. Obviously, you can tell my priorities are residency and being competitive and having a successful career. If I didn't think I could do it, I wouldn't be talking to you right now.
All right, thanks so much. We had one question in the chat. So Naomi, a current third year, I believe. She said the current SGA has been responsive to the concerns of third years, such as vaccination. How will you continue to remain responsive to concerns of third and fourth years?
That's an awesome question. I'm really, really stoked that there are third and fourth years on this call. I think Lindsay or Sam said it. The more that we can hear from third years, as I said about second years too, like, I don't think you guys realize like how much we value your advice, even if it just feels like some generic thing you've said about physio 900 times before. It is super important. Like, you guys have done a great job with the Google feedback form. Really makes it easy. I've written a bunch of different things in there. I want to open that up to third and fourth years. I want third and fourth years to know that I am serious about COVID. I led the platform with that. I'm sticking my neck out here. This is the most important thing for me starting on March 1st. Transparency, answers, doing everything in my power to get that stuff for you guys, okay?
All right, Jessica.
Yes, so I think that it is very important to receive feedback, just like Sam said, from all of our students, whether that be MS all the way up to fourth year. I do know that Jermeen is the point of contact for your class for the third years. So I definitely want to be working closely with her. I did work a little bit with her as class rep last year, so continuing that relationship to make sure that all of your concerns, COVID, vaccine, and otherwise are addressed. I think it's important to have transparency, just like all of previous candidates have said. I think it puts our minds at ease, and I think that it's really important to have the administration understand that, even if they think it's not important, even if they think it's, you know, a small detail, to us it means more than that. And I think I'm eager to listen to your concerns and to get you guys answers, and to make sure that those answers are not just available to third years as in regards to your vaccine question, but to the whole student body. I think all of us want to know the plans for that, and I think that that's definitely going to be high on the agenda as well.
All right, thank you guys. So I just want to really quickly explain what we're going to be doing from here on. We're going to be starting with doing position-specific questions, and then from there, we're going to move on to general questions. So position-specific questions, we'll start out with the president, and then vice president, and then move backwards from there, all right? So if anyone has a question, please raise your hand or use the chat, all right? And I think John wanted to start out. So John, your questions for the presidential candidates.
Thank you, Ali. So I have a couple of questions. Actually, I have 3 questions. Is that okay, Ali? Just for the presidents? All right, so one of them is actually coming from Jermeen, and so I'll just read that to you. How will you bridge the gap between administration and the student body, specifically in situations where the student body is requesting to see a change and administration is resistant to that request? And I'll have Jessica start.
So I think that I know one thing that you started in specific was the idea of transparency this year. And I think continuing that is really important. I think that in terms of talking to the administration, I think first and foremost, it's important to be professional and to make sure that I've collected all the student data and feedback depending on, you know, what the concern might be, and then present that. And after that, if the administration is still providing some pushback, I think it's important to try and find out why, and see if there's maybe something that can be tweaked or troubleshooted to fix that, and then maybe build up from there. I don't think that just because an idea is shot down that means that needs to be the end of it. I think it can be a work in progress, and it should be a work in progress. So my first step would be to find out why they said no or what the issue is, and then go from there. And I have no problem reaching out to other SGA members for their input as well, and even the student body for ideas in terms of, you know, we had an issue with metabolic map being on ExamSoft, and as class rep, I fielded the problem out to the class and got a lot of good responses. Unfortunately, a lot of them couldn't be worked out, but I have no issue doing that on a larger scale.
Thank you. And go ahead, Sam.
So there's a line, right, that you learn to walk. I've been in the town halls. I know I kind of mentioned them. And I feel like we have worked really hard to get to where we are. We're medical students, and we deserve to be treated like professionals. So we need to act like professionals. And to be a professional, there's a line, right? You don't want to roll over, and you have to be persistent. You have to be respectful. You can't be emotional. You can't lose your head. You just have to bring good data. You have to bring feedback from the majority of the class, and you have to craft proposals that are data driven. So one of the things that we don't really have access to in these town halls, we don't really have anything to go off of. Like people will ask questions about why are we not letting students opt into remote testing when cases are twice as prevalent as they were in the fall when we were given that option? That's a great question. Is it a budgetary reason? Are we concerned about cheating? We just don't get those answers now. So I want to make it very clear that we need answers. That's the initial expectation. I understand that, you know, ToroCom Middletown is not at the center of the Toro universe, but we're key stakeholders in Toro and in the ToroCom community, and we deserve clarity and clear answers.
Thank you. Odie asked a very good question in the chat, so I'm going to open that up, and we'll keep switching in reverse order. So Sam, if you want to start off, in your own words, what is the difference between being a boss and being a leader?
Being a boss and being a leader. You know, that's funny because I started managing people when I was like 24 years old, and I had no idea what I was doing. I was just like, it just took so much time for me to like really learn to like think outside myself and honor like other people's experiences and meet them where they're at. Like, not everybody wants to be where I am, and not everybody comes from the same place I come from. And so being a boss is about like understanding who you're talking to, meeting them where they're at, and working with them to make change. Being a leader is, to me, about some of those qualities I named like right as I was starting the speech. I think accountability is one of the most important traits that a person can have. I think that respecting people is one of the most important traits that somebody can have. I mean, there's no room for drama in life. And I hope that the people that I've interacted with, or that have heard me answer questions in class or have seen me post on the message board or whatever, know that like I'm coming from a place of respect at all times. There's no need to waste our time and our energy on disagreeing with each other and filling up interactions with drama. So I think leader is setting an example like that, setting a strong example, and being accountable for my actions.
Thanks, Sam. Go ahead, Jessica.
So I think for me, the big difference between a boss and a leader is representation. I think a boss is someone that is more so representing themselves and someone that wants to command a situation, whereas a leader is someone that's representing a larger group of people. So for example, in our case, like the student body, right? So I think that it's a leadership role because you're representing more than just yourself, more than just your ideas, and more than just your perspectives. And I think that a boss is someone that's there to get the job done, and that's their only task. And don't get me wrong, I definitely understand the responsibilities of president and want to get the job done appropriately. But I think that underlying everything I do is going to be the rest of the student body, from the master's class all the way up to fourth years. I think no voice is too small, no opinion is too small. And I think that I think it's a human characteristic to want to be heard and understood. And I'm going to work hard to make sure that that's the case for everybody here.
Thank you. And then this question is coming from me, and we'll start with Jessica. A large part of the role is working with Harlem SGA, who are your direct counterparts, right? So there's a president at both campuses, and there's no hierarchy between them. They work together. This can obviously be difficult at times because SGAs are counterparts and they may do things differently. So my question is, how would you communicate to ensure that you and Harlem's SGA can work together and achieve a common goal?
So first, I know some people at the Harlem campus, not personally, but indirectly, just having worked with class reps and things. So I definitely know that there's a large communication platform that needs to be a solid foundation for both campuses. I think that personally, I'd like to try and schedule some joint SGA meetings. I know that our schedules are already as jam-packed as they can be, but I think that personally, I think text message or WhatsApp or GroupMe, things can get lost in translation, things can be forgotten. So I think having that face-to-face over Zoom can be more productive. And so I'd like to kind of implement that. I also think that it's important for both campuses to understand that we're both in different circumstances. We had COVID incidences last semester, and I know that they did not. And I think that it's important for our SGA as a whole to relay to administration that even though we are strongly connected to them, that we have different experiences, and sometimes we might need to stray from the norm in order to appropriately address our concerns and our issues. So definitely starting out with some joint meetings, maybe even right off the bat to get to know each other, and then go from there in terms of making sure that communication is strong and our foundation is strong.
Thank you. And go ahead, Sam.
So I think just going back to what I said before is just finding sort of, I guess, initially what we have in common in terms of our vision for ToroCom. I like what Jess said about getting the rest of the e-board involved, because as I was listening to all their speeches, I mean, you realize that they have so many great ideas too. Getting those all out on paper and seeing where the commonalities are between the needs of the two campuses and starting there, because then we start our collaboration. We figure out how people work best together. I think that's a huge, huge piece. Like, you know, everybody likes to do work differently. Different people delegate work differently. And so finding that balance is really important. Yeah, I think that, I mean, also applies to some of the national stuff that I know you and Odie both attend. I mean, representing Toro strongly and getting feedback from other comms on what they're struggling with, like, especially like when I think about saying that, you know, I think about what people are doing in their communities, like volunteer wise with COVID, is something that I would want to ask other comms. And anyway, I'm a little off track here, but yeah, collaborating and seeing where the overlap is with people's ideas and starting from there with your momentum.
Thank you both. Those are all the questions I have for the president candidates. So I'll yield my time back to Ali, and I'll have some general questions for everybody towards the end.
All right.
Looks
So
like
we had a
Odie has a
from the-
question.
Sure, Odie, go ahead.
Just real quick. So both of you guys seem to have like a lot of amazing ideas. They seem very big picture, but speaking towards like the smaller picture, you'll find like when you get more acquainted with the student body, there are students from all walks of life who are experiencing Turo different. So how do you plan on addressing the marginalized population of students who don't feel like, not necessarily that their voices aren't being heard, but like they're not getting what they need as students? We have a whole bunch of committees at the disposal of SGA who are supposed to essentially help with new initiatives. Like, how do you plan on using them to kind of address those issues for the marginalized student population?
Lindsay, you can start us off.
Oh, wait, no, sorry. This was still for president. I didn't know we switched over.
Never mind. Sorry.
Sam
Okay.
or Jessica.
Yeah,
either one
Jess,
of you.
I can start since you did the last one first. I mean, that's a great question, Odie, honestly. Like, I'm not going to pretend like I'm super in tune with, you know, all the needs and all the initiatives that second year students and students in our class as well want to roll out. I just want to just convey that I'm open to any ideas, and people's feedback and people's ideas are most important to me. To go back and answer your question a little bit better, I mean, like I said, I'm really all about efficiency. Like, I recognize that people's idea of like what it means to go to medical school, I mean, that doesn't always include being a part of a club or being involved in SGA. Some people are involved in stuff outside of Toro. Some people are involved in stuff in their communities, and all that is what makes our campus really special and what makes people unique. So I think that what I can do is be really open and receptive to people's ideas and respect their ideas, but also like do everything in my power, like I said in my speech, to make their lives easier. Like, cut down on the number of emails, make sure that it's very clear which emails are going to contain high value information, consolidate student events into a calendar and make sure that all the talks are in there so that people don't miss something, maybe because they got 5 million exam soft emails. just so people have equal opportunity to access the resources of Toro. I don't want somebody who doesn't have Facebook to not be able to get a study guide, you know? That's just a silly example, but I hope it goes to demonstrate my point.
Thank you.
I think,
Jessica?
yeah, I think that first, I want to open up something that's sort of like anonymous. I think on Facebook we had like at one point, I'm not sure if it still exists, but a way to make suggestions, but I don't think that that's really known to the large majority of the school, or if that even still exists. But I think that some students might feel that they can't approach other students, especially on SGA, about concerns. So I want to have a way for things to be anonymous or confidential. Personally, I think I'm a very open individual, and I welcome anyone that has a concern or question to come to me or anybody on SGA that you feel most comfortable with. I think all of us here are pretty open people as well. But I think in terms of committees, I think that if there's an initiative or a concern that needs to be addressed or someone wants to build on, I think that there's plenty of room for flexibility in terms of revamping committees, creating a new committee, whatever, you know, might seem necessary in order to make them feel more comfortable, more included. And I think that I definitely collaborate with Secretary to get that going, if that's what it took.
All right, thank you so much. We have a question here in the chat. Chris, I see you have a question too. I'm just going to get to the chat one first, because it was sent a while ago. The question is, students have been very disconnected from their professors this year, and many students don't have a personal relationship with any of their professors. If we continue to be online next year, do you have any ideas for how students can better connect with their professors?
Yeah, I'm just going to jump in because I was going to put this in my speech, but I talked too much and it would have gone me over 5. So Chris, I was thinking about this, and it is in my LOI, if you read that near the end of it. We seem to spend 5 to 10 minutes at the beginning of every class getting the PowerPoint up and making sure it's in presenter mode. So I would love to see if we could do that maybe 5 minutes before class, and then we can let the students out early who want to get out, and then we can spend like 5-10 minutes where everybody knows that we're sticking around to have some lighthearted conversation. Like, people kept referring back to the Quizzo, that histo thing we were doing. I mean, that was some of the most fun that I've had with Toro students in the first semester. So stuff like that. I would love for Dr. Mormon to do one of those, I'll tell you what. So stuff like that is so awesome. If there's a way we could make office hours a little more lighthearted, that's definitely a priority for me, because sorry, I'm talking too much, but lastly, like I was looking into some research opportunities for the summer, and for the research opportunities, you need letters of recommendation. And I'm thinking to myself, like, who's going to write me a letter? You know, like, so I totally agree with you that that is such an important thing. Like, we need people to advocate for us and help us write letters to get us into opportunities. And we need mentors. So that's a huge, huge thing. Great point.
I think that's also something that's been on the forefront of my mind. I've spoken to a lot of our classmates about it. I think first and foremost, in terms of like what Sam was saying about letters of recommendation, I know a lot of master's students have been concerned, you know, applying through the ACOMAS route, maybe asking a professor for a letter of rec, but you don't really know them. So my first point of advice has been to go to your advisor. You know, we all have an advisor here. We all don't really meet with them, I feel like, as much as we probably should or could. So definitely, I think they're a great resource. And I know from being here last year and just dropping into professors' offices, how much it just not necessarily, you know, brightened my day and that it was like the highlight of my day, but it was nice to go in and not be staring at a book or a laptop screen, but to still have a stimulating conversation. And so I've worked with Dr. Shaw and Dr. Kaur as class rep to have them open some office hours. I know Dr. Panini and Kamath, I know this is very first year driven, I apologize, but they have office hours as well. And I think that letting students know and encouraging them to go to them, even if you have a small question that you think might be silly, like, oh, why was answer choice B not the right answer? They're more than happy to help. And then from there, you can kind of build that conversation and get to know them on a little bit more of a personal level. I think it is definitely difficult being remote, but it's been a challenge that I face too. I feel like there, are other professors, OMM or PD that I don't know very well, but I'd like to get to know. So I think I know Dr. Bruno jokes about this all the time, about having just like a Zoom hangout session. I think that would be the greatest idea. So maybe actually putting that to fruition, but having it, hosted by SGA maybe, and that, professors, faculty, students alike can come. For those that are new, we used to do like the ugly sweater contest in the atrium, and Camerado is there, and a bunch of other faculty members to judge. And so they were involved more. And I think that maybe holding some sessions like that where students can come and go, and as well as faculty, would be helpful for bridging that gap.
All right, thank you so much. And now we're going to move on to Chris's question for the president. Unfortunately, this is going to be the last question for the president candidates, and then we're going to move on to the vice presidents, just in the sake of time. But thank you guys for answering questions. Yes, Sam, you're excited. This kind of did get a little longer than we expected, but I think it's important that we hear people's questions.
No, I agree. I just feel bad talking so much, but thanks everybody for the good questions.
You're almost there, you're almost done. Chris, go ahead.
So my question would be, what is one thing you hope to accomplish within the next year?
Chris, we're having a little trouble hearing you.
One thing we're hoping to accomplish within the next year. Jess, you want to go? I took the
Can you hear me?
last time. Yeah, we hear you. I think we got your question. Thanks, Chris.
Okay.
I didn't catch it. Can you say it again?
One thing
we're hoping to accomplish within the next year.
Okay. So I think aside from, working through the virtual world and COVID concerns and transparency, I think that getting to know, more specifically for the first years, getting to know our classmates, and even the other years, masters, all the way through fourth year, I think it's important that we continue to bond with our classmates and that we continue to form relationships with them. And I know that, a lot of presidential duties is about communication with admin, and hearing the student voices, but I also think that there's an overwhelming cry for, more human interaction, more classmate interaction. So definitely, transparency, working with everybody from the student body to administration is definitely what I want to accomplish overall. But more specifically, I want to be able to know a name to a face more so than like a name to a Zoom picture. And I think that that's something that we all can benefit from.
All right, Sam, go ahead.
I hate to sound like a broken record, but COVID, transparency, town halls improved, more clear answers to student questions, being treated like professionals. I want to see that by March 31st. So that's a huge, huge thing for me. And just like I said in my platform, everything in my platform is the high key stuff for me. The audition rotation information, I want that out to students by summer break at the latest. Like I want some clear research information, some concise information about volunteering opportunities built into orientation for this coming summer. So those two things are the things I want to stress. I wish somebody said to me during orientation, hey, Sam, it's never too early to start thinking about what you're going to do on winter break or what you're going to do on summer break, because I missed some deadlines that I'm kind of kicking myself about. And I don't want first years to miss deadlines with boards going past fail, because we need everything we can get to set ourselves apart for a competitive residency.
All right, thank you so much. And with that, we're going to end the questions for the presidential candidates, and we're going to start the questions for the vice presidential candidates. I know we kind of lost a lot of people in that time, but thank you everyone who's been sticking with us. If anyone has any questions, I know Odie, you had some questions. You have the floor.
Yeah, so I'll just wrap up my other questions, and sorry about the confusion before, Sam. So first one, so you'll find that part of your job as VP is, why can't I see everyone? Yeah, you'll find that part of your job as VP will be essentially like in the event something happens where one of the teammates kind of like fall off for who knows what reason, knock on fake wood, you have to kind of like take on some of their responsibilities. So of all the positions you've heard from tonight, which one of the positions do you think is probably your weakest suit or your weakest skill, and how do you plan on building on that?
Oh, okay, I'll go first. That's very easy for me. Treasurer, mostly because I just have no idea. I don't even know if I could do it if I was given the opportunity, but the easy way to improve on that is to work with whoever is the next treasurer to figure out how they do their job, what the intricacies of it are. But yeah, for sure, it would be treasurer for me.
Thank you.
I can definitely second being a little afraid of treasurer. I do have a slight background. I worked part-time in finance over breaks doing data entry, which like isn't money management. So I'm definitely a little intimidated by the treasurer role. But like Lindsay was saying, I definitely think that collaborating with and touching base just with every single person in every position, just asking them how their role is doing so you understand what the daily in and out of every position is and you understand what their goals and objectives are as they're moving through their position could be really important. I also think that one thing that I know I'm not totally comfortable with is like sharing stuff on social media. So I think that PR could be something that I'm also not as comfortable with. But with PR in particular, I know that like you have an entire committee to lean on and to talk to and to get ideas from. So I think that in that role, I would definitely utilize the committee and make sure that I'm using all of their unique ideas to the best advantage of SGA and the best advantage to Toro.
Nice. Okay, so the next question is, we've already spoken about just like how you'll appeal to masters and first and second years, third and fourth years, like they still exist too. They might not be here, but like they're here and we love them. So can you describe a club event that you would like to have happen more, like a type of club event that you'd like to have more that would appeal specifically to third and fourth years? Like it could be for everyone, but just like something that'll draw third and fourth years in.
Sam, I can go first if you want me to. I don't mind. So one thing I missed from last year that I do just want to throw it out there so that we can get that going for next year's Tarot Day, because that's something that was for all of our students last year, and I want to continue that. But specifically for the third and fourth year students, I did in my letter of intent describe how I want to include them more and have them more integrated into the rest of the class. And also echoing what Sam said, I feel like we're almost missing a great resource. And my personal goal with that would be to celebrate some of the work that they're doing. I feel like they're so disconnected from us. And maybe if we could have an event where we showcase either they describe, here's a rotation I went on and like describe what they did every day, their experience or something that they liked or didn't like. So not only are we getting to meet these people that we haven't gotten to meet before, but then we're also learning more about clinical rotations, which we didn't get to know about before. Like we had a third year or fourth year student actually in our PD class recently, and that was a really cool experience. And I would like to maybe do an entire event just surrounded with clinical rotation experiences from third and fourth years.
I think my internet connection is a little slow and lagging, just so everyone knows. So if it takes me a minute to respond, that might be why. But I think that one thing that I would definitely want to make sure I'm doing to get third and fourth years involved with different clubs and still touching base with clubs that maybe they were part of while they were in their first and second year would be to have students that are currently in their residency come back and talk about what they're doing in residency and talk about how they got to where they are. I think that that would help students realize like tips and tricks for audition rotations and tips and tricks to know when they're doing rotations at different places to make them stand out and to help them, really make sure that they're getting that residency placement that they want. I think that that could be a great way about going about making sure that we still have third and fourth years touching base with clubs at a minimum.
Nice. And then my very last question for you, wait, hold on. Sorry, I was just reading some of the questions in the chat. I'm going to read it. I will fully read it soon. So last question. Crap, and I just had this. Did it escape me? It did not escape me. Something, oh yeah, so as vice president, and this kind of also applies to secretary, you're overseeing like a good chunk of the student body, a good chunk of SGA. For VP, it's what is it? It's student organizations. For secretary, it's committees. Within that, you're working with e-boards, which are essentially student leaders in and of themselves, and your job is kind of to help them as student leaders continue to shape themselves. So how would you facilitate the growth of all these student leaders as VP? Sam, I guess you could start, and then Lindsay would go second.
Sure. So in some of my previous leadership roles during undergrad, I was something called an SRA, which was like a senior resident assistant. And being a resident assistant was a highly sought after position at my university. So I, in being a senior resident assistant, was kind of in charge of overseeing other RAs. And I think that one big thing that I always tried to do with the RAs that I was overseeing was making sure that we were having discussions about goals that they had, why they applied for that position, and what they're looking to get out of it. So I think that those would be conversations that I would want to continue with e-boards of different club members, so we can make sure that within their club and within the e-board that they're on, that they're really getting the most out of that experience that they can get. And I think that that would be, a huge way to allow me to continue to promote leaders growing into their potential. And I also think that just being there to serve as a sounding board when someone's unsure of what they're supposed to do, or has a question just about different logistical things, or different ways to make sure that like their club's going to have attendance at events, just being there to answer any questions that they have. I think that there was a third year that mentioned that they're really interested in, raffles when they see Visa gift cards out there, making sure that like I'm voicing those things to different club executives to make sure that they understand like this is an idea that someone presented to me, and just continuing to have those open avenues of communication to make sure that their club is achieving what they want and that they're achieving their goals in their position.
Thanks.
So to go off of that, as I mentioned in my speech, I actually was vice president for my sorority in undergrad, and I was obviously overseeing a bunch of different committees. And I found that two of the main things, one is following up with the head of the committees. That's one of the main things, but without being a naggy about it. I don't have any other better word for it. Making sure that they feel like they have leadership of whatever they're doing, but also letting them know that you're there to support them if they need it. And also giving them recognition when they accomplish a goal that they set for themselves. Because everyone who's here and does any of these committees, like we're all very competent, smart individuals, and we want to be recognized when we work hard. And that would be another main thing that I could do to support them in their roles without stepping on toes.
Thank you for your answers. I love them both.
All right. Does anyone else have any questions for the vice presidential candidates? All right. So we're going to be moving on to treasurer. Does anyone have any questions for the treasurer?
Oh, wait, sorry. I have one last question, super short.
Go ahead.
For both candidates. So how comfortable are either of you with what's called the Google Suite, but more specifically, Google Sheets?
Google Sheets vary. I used it a lot for when I was in different positions in my sorority. I could definitely figure it out. Even if Google Suites itself, also pretty comfortable with most of it, but I mean, I'm open to learn. It's okay if I don't know everything, so.
Being a class rep, I definitely got more experience working with Google Suites when it came to working on like the SGA website and my pages for my classes. So I think that gave me just, a little bit of experience with Google Suites there. And when it comes to working on spreadsheets and Excel spreadsheets, I did research in undergrad where it was my job just to stare at spreadsheets all day. So I'm pretty comfortable doing that. I figured out some nifty tips and tricks. And I've definitely found ways to make it entertaining so that I make sure that I stay focused while I'm working on them too.
Nice.
All right, thank you. Good to know. Everyone knows how to use Google and Excel, important things. All right, does anyone have any questions for the candidate running for the treasurer position? All right, I'm going to take that as no. We're going to be moving on to public relations. Does anyone have any questions for the public relations director candidates? Chris, I know you had a question.
Yeah, I have a question. Can you hear me properly now? Okay, so my question to all my PR people, March 1st, pretty much you're going to transfer into the position. So I'm wondering, what would you spend your first week doing?
I can go first. So I guess I would start gathering everything for Student of the Month and start preparing the Patagonia order. Yeah, I think those would be my two things, getting Student of the Month up and running and getting the Patagonia order together.
I think for me, I want like the opinion of my class and the classes above and the master's class as well, what their wants are, what their interests are. And I think after getting feedback from them, I can make more directed decisions about things like Dan just said, Patagonia and apparel and even Student of the Month. I know it's kind of hard for a lot of students. I feel like there's a lot of students in our class that work very hard, but like, behind the scenes, and they might not be recognized for it. Like Lindsay was saying also, that giving recognition where recognition is due. So maybe hearing from other students, giving like more than just like a basic reason for making someone Student of the Month, like explaining why that person deserves it. I think communication has to be more open. And I think that'd be like the number one thing I would do right away.
I think for me, kind of going off what they said, obviously I would want to make sure that the things that we do on a regular basis are still maintained, like Student of the Month and prepping Patagonia order. But I also think for me too, would be kind of giving a fresh look to some of our social media web pages, just to be like, hey, this is what's going on. Also, like if we, obviously if I was in the position at this time, we'd have a new SGA board. So being like, hey, this is your new SGA board. Let's, introduce everybody to the SGA board. I think that would be kind of important, because then, students and people of the public would be like, okay, cool. Like here are new people, here are my new point people. So I think that would be super important to do the first week as well.
All right, Odie, I see that you had a question. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So definitely gonna toot Chris's horn, pause, about Patagonia order. Like I walk around with mine and it's like every single faculty member and staff members just like, yo, Odie, where'd you get that? Chris, because he's awesome. So when you guys end up taking this up next year, like what are you going to do to make sure that like you cover all the bases, make sure that everyone who wants to get in on that order does not miss that opportunity?
I can answer first because I'm second before. I remember that being a thing that Chris talked about too, that including more people. And like I mentioned in my letter of intent and in my speech, I want to widen the options for Patagonia. So it's for faculty and the students and even the students' family. I know a lot of like parents are very involved in like their kids' stuff. So they're like, oh, we want one too. Adding names and titles to Patagonia, making it more customized for themselves. Using the SGA website, which has been a great tool, and working with like the VP who's in charge of communications between people too, I think would be a good way to just get the message out there to everyone in the ToroCom community.
Yeah, to add what Nisha just said, I also think too, like you want to use your other SGA positions to help you. Obviously, the president and VP are probably going to have more direct communication with like Dean Steyer and Dr. Camerata. So kind of using them and being like, hey guys, like what's the best way to reach the rest of the faculty so that they would know what's going on too. I feel like sometimes there's like cool things that students do and it's like, oh, like I wish we did that too. So I think using, all of your different branches to kind of reach out. Also, not just through emails, but posting it on social media and stuff too as reminders. Because I know, you send one email out and it can get, lost. And then all of a sudden it's like the deadline. You're like, oh no, I haven't even like thought about doing this Patagonia order yet. So just making sure it's like, always in the back of people's minds.
One thought I just had was possibly like a table just in the atrium, just for anybody who passes by to sign up, and for one, just giving access to whoever really enters the building. So whether it be admin, faculty, students.
All right, thank you. I'm going to ask a quick question for the PR candidates, just in one sentence, really quickly. What would you do to, as in your role as PR, to make the school a better attraction for prospective students? One sentence, one idea, really quickly.
For me, it would be to update our SGA website so that all of the information about what we do here is in one place, and also providing student panels to different undergrad institutions so people know who we are.
For me, I think social media is a very widened platform for prospective students. I want students and prospective applicants to type in on Google and or Instagram or Facebook or SGA page to pop up right away so they can see like what's up, what's going on, why do I want to go to Toro? The answer should be right there.
I would say, Odie, I agree. I would say just building the Toro brand so prospective students know what they are attending when they come to Toro, and also strengthening our roots in the community so the community knows who Toro is.
All right, thank you so much. Those were great ideas. Next up, we're going to move on to the secretary candidates. So does anyone have any questions for them? Zoraida, do you have any questions?
Not really.
All right. And last, Odie, go ahead.
So I guess it's a question I asked to the vice president candidates, so I'll ask it to you as well. Your position as secretary, you oversee all the committees. That holds a lot of weight when it comes to the things that students want to see happen in the school that admin won't do. You leave it onto student effort. So with that being said, they're student leaders as well. How would you use your position to help cultivate them into the leaders that they want to be towards the end of their time in said committee?
I can go first. So I think that, as stated earlier, I think that my role here is to empower and support. So I think that my goal is I want to make sure that we have a clear goal of what we want to achieve. And if just checking in every now and then, you good? Do you need any help with anything? If they have it under control, if they're good, I'm going to let them run with it as long as it makes sense what we're doing, because that's your show and it's not my job to like step in. But if at any point there is help needed, or for example, even academics are getting in the way and like they need to take a step back a little bit because they have an exam coming up that they're not as ready for, if possible, I'd like to be able to step in and try to help them with little tasks here and there to try to make it easier for them to get their goal done.
So as I stated before, I think communication is definitely very important, especially when it comes to us being on, like we have an online curriculum and we're basically online all the time. So I think getting points across and communication is definitely very important. And also just being a person to talk to, because sometimes it can get overwhelming just being online, being in your, basically your four doors, kind of like I am. So just having someone to talk to, get advice from, especially previous master's students. Master's students have a lot to offer. They have a lot of information to give. So I think just getting advice from them and seeing where you can improve, where your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and just being a person that that they can rely on and that they can go to for advice, and just being there to just kind of like support them, and being transparent as well, as everyone has been saying. Don't like if there's some sort of issue that's been going on with certain members and they don't want to speak about it, be that person that they can just go to if they have any questions, if they have concerns about how to handle a certain situation. I think definitely being supportive and knowing that you're there for them will definitely be very helpful.
Follow-up question. So with the committees, usually they're kind of like the appendages of the SGA Executive Committee. So when the six of you guys come together, you come up with a plan for something that students would really benefit from, and you have to delegate it to a committee. Assuming like you're completely hands off, how would you go about, one, doing the delegation, and two, following up and making sure that the initiative is completed or followed through?
either one of you guys can start up.
Yeah.
So I think that I don't know if I completely understand your question. I think that what I'm understanding is when SGA e-board comes together and has a goal of what they want to see happen, how would I do delegating it to the committee?
So in terms of just like initiatives that come up among the executive committee, usually you'll end up delegating those to the committees themselves to kind of follow through. How would you go? What does that delegation look like, and how would you go about following up to make sure something's seen all the way through? Like it doesn't just like fall in between the cracks.
Yeah, I think that, well, if it fell into a clear committee, I think that I would approach them and say, hey, we have this plan. How do you feel about it? And like try to make sure that it's a image or a goal that they're excited about as well, and making it something that, and then breaking it down into like a timeline basically. So then we come together and say, okay, realistically, if this is our big plan and this is what we want to do, and we want to have it at this day, let's try to make times that we can like check in with each other, make sure that we've hit certain milestones that we wanted to hit. And if we're not hitting those milestones, do we need to adjust our timeline, or is there something I can help with? I think that ultimately, if I'm giving something to a committee, I don't want to be someone who micromanages, but if they do need help, or if anything is lacking or they need extra resources of any sort, I'm happy to help them with that. And if it's something that even two committees could come together on to make something happen, to put some more power behind it, I have no issue with combining committees either.
Yeah, so definitely I think approaching, so each committee has like a certain leader. So I think approaching the leader first and foremost, just to get the point across, I think would definitely be something that I will start off with. And then kind of like building off of what the other members would have ideas of, kind of like just translate that into the big picture. But definitely approaching the leader first, and then just kind of like combining ideas, thoughts, different opinions, and being more open-minded, especially because we all have different opinions, we all have different ideas. So combining all that into one, I think would be very beneficial.
All right, thank you very much. And if no one else has any more questions for the secretary candidates, we'll move on to the last position, which is going to be the parliamentarians. Does anyone have any questions? I have a question. And I guess I'll start out then. So my question specifically is going to be, you guys as SGA for next year are most likely going to be the group that transitions us from a virtual back to a more in-person, likely either this fall or the following spring. So in light of that, as parliamentarian, what are you guys going to do to strengthen volunteering, get more people to volunteer, and get people back out there again in terms of volunteering in general? Raj, you can go first.
Kind of just giving as many options as I can possibly find for volunteering options out there to people, whether it's through the emails, anything of that sorts. Any options that people find, just let me know and I'll make sure everyone else gets it too if they're looking for volunteers. Like I don't want it to be like a small-minded like focus, but as many people that can get out there to help the community. Like this is the community I grew up on. Like this is I wanted to go back and help it. I've been doing it for years, and I want to see how many more people are willing to help out and different opportunities I can get to make sure this gets better. Like it's scary to believe it, but Middletown was actually worse off than when I grew up. So like this is a massive improvement over the years. And, like 211 was not as nice as it used to be. So like I mean the other way, it's a lot better than it used to be. So we can whatever you guys need or whatever you guys are interested in, just let me know. We could figure out a way to get this out to everybody else.
Okay, thank you. Nick?
I too am pretty invested in forming as many new relationships as we can with the community. And I really want to, again, like I said before, I love making things easier and trying to consolidate stuff as much as possible. I'd love to make some sort of site where we could make a list of all of the groups that we have relationships with and what we're able to do with them. That way people can see them all lined up, figuring out what type of thing they would like to most participate in within the community. Target those things and we'll arrange it by a variety of ways, but that's something we can decide later. But just having some centralized location, preferably on the SGA site, where people can find everything and adding to it any way we can. So hopefully when we come in person, we'll be able to set up some sort of a community type fair and just have everybody give their spiel to why they should join this particular aspect and create a stronger bond within the community.
All right, Odie, I see you have a question.
Yeah. So my question is about the Touch program again. So Ali's done an amazing job with it over the year. So my question for you is for a lot of the 3rd and 4th years, usually they leave Touch and all of that, like getting this number of hours of volunteering behind in 1st and 2nd year. How would you encourage 3rd and 4th years to continue that entire community center service and like essentially recognize them for that service that they do in their clinical years?
Ali and I had actually discussed something about this. He was talking about setting up an award system or some sort of way to acknowledge people that continue on in their 3rd and 4th years. And he wasn't actually able to get it through in his time now. And I was hoping to kind of champion that in the future. I hope you don't mind if kind of swiping.
Oh, I'm working on that right now, actually.
I know you're working on it. Yeah, sorry. But yeah, I thought that was a genius idea, and making, again, going back to a website, a way to highlight people that have gone above and beyond and giving them the acknowledgement that they deserve. Hopefully little highlights that show people what they're doing and letting know that Toro is just really in it. We're out there, we're doing a lot of cool stuff, and it's I know I'm pretty excited about it. It should be cool.
Again, like Ali mentioned it also, like when we were talking. So it's all about like getting the recognition, working with our PR staff and committee, and getting like this like a spotlight at the end of the year of like who has the most hours, after the 4 years at Toro, and doing something special for them, and working ways to encourage other people to do. Okay, now I just see a dog from Nick. That's just distracting me. But just along the same lines, just making sure they're not feel like they're ignored. Like anything that helped them, like all of it's going to help for residency, seeing how much they're going to be working on to all besides just working on schoolwork and rotations. Is all about making yourself out distinguishable to other people. So whatever we can do to help them, we'll do it.
All right. Thank you. And with that, I think we are done. And now we're going to move on to just general questions. If anyone has any general questions for all of the candidates, feel free. John, go ahead.
All right, I have a few. And guys, I know it's a long night. I remember last year, and we were there in person, and we all had to stand on the stage for like a billion hours. So I feel for you, but we'll get this done. All right, this first question, it's for all candidates, and I just want a really short and sweet answer, 1 or 2 sentences. What does SGA and being on SGA mean to you personally? And I don't know what order you want to go in, Ali, but
Ali said basically the reverse order of their speeches.
All right. Let's start with the presidential candidates and we'll move on from there.
Sam, go ahead.
Being on SGA, I mean, it just gives me a chance to get involved in the school. I was looking over winter break for ways to get more involved in Toro, and this is it. I mean, this is a really big chance for me to devote some of my time and effort and energy to making Toro a better osteopathic school and helping move things forward, making people's lives easier.
Got it. Thank you. Jessica?
Being on SGA for me means similar to what Sam said in terms of bringing Toro, up to the next level in terms of the school, but also, I've grown up in the area and I have family in the area, and I think making Toro my home by being on SGA will further continue that process and allow me to represent our student body and what we all believe in.
Thank you. And just and we'll continue with VP and all. I just want to clarify, not necessarily what does it mean to you personally, but just when you think of like what does SGA mean to you, if that makes sense. But we'll continue on with VP. So if we can just start with
Sam.
That's fine.
To me, SGA means making ToroCom a community and a family. And it also means giving the students a voice and making sure that the student voice is heard.
To me, SGA means allowing our students to become more involved and feel at home like I do at Toro, and to just feel like a part of our community and to get the experience from medical school that we all deserve to have.
All right, Treasurer?
For me, it's the opportunity to take all of the little suggestions and ideas and opinions and make more of an impact on the student experience.
PR, Dan?
For me, it's a way for students to leave their mark on Toro and I guess leave it better than the way we found it.
Nisha?
SGA to me means like unity, representation between all the students and between the 5 people that are working for them.
SGA to me is a smaller vision of ToroCom and our family, and I want everybody to feel like ToroCom is family, and I'm really passionate about helping make positive changes, which I feel like are possible through SGA.
Secretary candidates?
SGA to me is basically just allowing others to have a voice, to have their opinions be heard, and to be kind of just like the bigger picture, to get points across, and to just directly be involved with administration, and to just make everything more at ease, especially with everything going on. Just to be there for everyone and just to be helpful.
I agree. I think that SGA to me is amplifying the voice of the students and making sure that they're empowered and given the ability and the tools to do what they want and make this the experience that they want it to be.
All right, parliamentarian?
Personally, it's a lot of things. It's the opportunity to challenge myself to do things that sometimes I feel like I need to challenge myself in order to grow personally. Like I'm clearly not the best public speaker, and it's something I need to keep doing to make myself better at it. It's the opportunity to help build community. It's the opportunity to make people feel heard, to help people get things done and get one step closer to the goal. It's a variety of things. I could go on forever. I'll field the rest of my time. Also, human interaction. I need more of that.
Raj?
Yeah, so I feel like SGA should make students feel like we have a home here at Toro and put them in the best position to succeed for their residency and for their careers and building better people as a whole.
All right, thank you guys. This next question is going to be specifically for the presidents, and then I'm going to go back to a general question. So I think you guys can all tell that in SGA, we like to have fun. We're a family. As president, how can you encourage a family type feel between you and your team? So that, I mean, that can include how you provide feedback, critical feedback or encouragement. How do you plan on communicating so that things are done efficiently, etc.? Jessica, go ahead.
I think that's definitely a very important aspect of SGA as a whole. I mean, I think it's pretty clear to all of us that you guys have a good bond and good working relationship. I think that first and foremost, I want everyone that's a part of the SGA to feel like they're equally as important and that they're equally as valued. So I think starting off on like, you know, once we get into our positions, find out more about them, talk to the current position holders, I think it's important to have our own type of individual meeting and, you know, let ourselves be who we are, be creative, and then know that whatever feedback or constructive criticism we may have, it's coming from a good place, a good heart, first and foremost, and as well for the school as a whole. And I think it's important for us to know that, you know, we all have stressful schedules, we all get overwhelmed, but we're all here to support each other. And I think that this group of individuals we can lean on each other for more than just SGA. We can lean on each other for all different types of stressors.
Go ahead, Sam.
I've been a little bit serious tonight, and I just want to, well, it's really hard with Zoom because we don't really all really know each other. So I would assure you that I am pretty silly, especially in the anatomy small group labs and when we do breakout rooms for projects with our class. I mean, I like to have fun. I like to keep it light. I was stoked when I saw Allie's email with the PDF. I mean, the list of names of people who are running. I mean, I know a couple people personally pretty well, and I was just stoked to see who's running. So obviously, I mean, like I keep saying over and over again, like I don't think I'm the smartest chicken in the hen, and like I'm happy to take everybody's feedback, everybody's ideas, and you know, have some fun.
Thanks, Sam. All right, this is a question for everyone. Again, really just crisp, short answers. What would you do if you become overwhelmed by schoolwork and can't fulfill your SGA duties? Ali, same order, or are we starting with what are we doing?
Up to you guys. We can start from parliamentary and move back. Parliamentary.
And I also would just like to also just acknowledge that Mario is on the line. Mario is our immediate past vice president. He's a pretty cool guy. So feel free to ask some questions, Mario, if you'd like.
What's up, guys? Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to hop on and first thank everyone that's running. I know how hard it is sometimes to make that leap of faith. So I want to commend all you guys' bravery, and everyone else that's tuned in. Thank you all for listening. But yeah, like John said, I'm a current third year. But if you guys have any questions as far as like rotations or boards or how to juggle SGA in school, I mean, I know the current SGA can already do a phenomenal job at answering any of those questions. But if you have, feel free to ask me anything, reach out on Facebook or anything. Yeah. Yeah. What's up? What's up, buddy?
Okay. So very good question. So why did you run away after I beat you in Mario Kart that one time?
I knew that this was something Mario Kart related. I just knew it.
I mean, your name's the name of the game.
It's true. It's true. It's because I didn't have a console in my room that I wasn't playing every single day.
I mean, I play Smash every day.
All right,
Mario. Okay.
I'm actually.
Ali, can you can mute Odie for the rest of the evening. Yeah.
But yeah, either way, thank you guys all. Yeah, as far as questions go, I don't have anything on the top of my head, but yeah.
Sounds good, man. Thank you.
Nice to hear from you, Mario. Let's go back to the questions. We want to start with the parliamentarians.
Let's do it real quick. What would you do if you become overwhelmed with school duties or personal duties and can't fulfill your SGA duties?
If by the way, hey Mario, hope you're still bowling. So if it's been if I can't do my duties, I would just ask like my board for help. Like we're like our team's here together, and if it's something small that they can help me with, then I'm more than happy to ask for help from someone to help get it, like something like if it's like a media deadline or something, like then I'm more than happy to ask for help from any of our whoever gets elected from the boards or any committee members.
Thank you.
Well, more or less along the same lines. If I ever feel that like I'm unable to fulfill my duties, I'm definitely going to make sure that it's going to be done by the end of the day, whether or not I might be the person finishing the job. I might have to seek help from my team, or we're part of a team and we're going to work together as a team. And that it goes the same way for me to other members of my team. If they need help, I'm always there as well. So let's get it done.
Thank you.
All right. Going to be moving on to the secretaries.
Usually I plan everything out pretty far in advance. So when I'm starting to slip, I think that I can tell pretty early on that I'm going to need extra help. So I'd be really open about, hey, this is starting to get a little like overwhelming. Is there any way that I can like work with someone or try to split it up in a different way? But yeah, I'd just be very open with my team as to what I needed to help me succeed.
Thank you.
Well, I'm just very big on communication, and I think that's just the key to almost everything, to do basically everything. So I would ask for help from previous members of SGA, because you guys have all done this. You've all been new to this. You've all had your concerns, and I think just voicing that you need help just to get something done, I think would definitely be best for you. And also, like they have said before, just to ask members of the team, ask for advice on how maybe you can prevent this in the future. If you find yourself like stumbling upon something that you can't do or that you're struggling with, just find a new way to prevent that from happening, and ask your fellow members for help, and also past members as well. I think getting insight would definitely be very helpful.
Thank you. Who's next, Ali?
The PR directors.
So for me, I would just say I would delegate. PR is fortunate enough to have their own committee now. So I would definitely utilize the committee and just delegate.
Thank you.
I agree.
Go ahead.
I agree with Dan that PR is lucky enough to have its own committee. And I think, like I said in my speech and like I said in my letter of intent, it's not like just a single person's task. Everything gets accomplished better when there's multiple people working towards it. So reaching out to fellow SGA members and past SGA members and the committees would definitely be how I would handle it.
Yeah, retweet to all of that. Hopefully I wouldn't allow myself to get into a position where I wasn't able to do something that I was committed to doing, but you know, it does happen to everybody, unfortunately, every once in a while. So I think just using my teammates and the PR committee as well would be able to get the job done as a team.
Thank you, guys.
Treasurer.
Just to reiterate what everybody said, like knowing yourself is very important, so you know when you're going to need help, and then communicating about it so nobody's blindsided, and then you can ask for help. People can step in and see what they can do for you.
VP.
So just echoing what everybody said, you know, leaning on my SGA team members, saying something early is a big thing for me. And, you know, as Mr. Rose says, we're here students first. So I want to make sure that that's a priority, but that's why we have a team and that's why we work together.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
So just like everyone has said, I definitely agree with leaning on the other SGA members. And I think that that would be an extremely crucial thing to do through the entire process, is making sure that like we're open and transparent with each other. But I would also want to make sure that should I be elected, the second that I'm elected, I would want to start talking to my predecessor about ways that I can help prevent that from happening, ways that they manage the role, and different tips and tricks that they found out. I'm also huge on organization. So whether that means that I'm scheduling time in on my Google Calendar or I'm writing it down in my planner on a specific day and time that I need to do it, that's definitely something that like I would do to help prevent that happen.
Awesome.
And last but not least, President.
I can go. Kind of going off what Rashni said, I think it's important to know yourself, and especially knowing your weaknesses. I know a weakness of mine is that I feel like I need to take on every small task when I'm part of a team. But I work on that all the time within myself. So I think knowing my responsibilities and role really well, and then being able to delegate from there would be hopefully preventative from that.
Thank you.
I like what Sam Dion said. John's going to be on speed dial until March 1st. It's going to be mom, John, dad. And then like what Andrea said, just, I mean, ask for help before you need it. That's the truth, right? You know, I love what about medical schools. It's just school comes first. So you just set the precedent, you know, delegate, delegate, delegate.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. All right. I know it's a long night, guys. I have one more general question and then one more just for president, and you guys can all hate me after, and then I'll let you go. For everybody, how do you take critical feedback? On SGA, you're gonna get it. If it's not from SGA, it's gonna be from a third year or a fourth year. Everyone's gonna have an opinion, and yeah, I know, Chris, deal with it. So yeah, how do you take critical feedback? And should we go president down?
Yeah, let's do that. Start out with
All right,
president.
go ahead, Sam.
Feedback makes us better, right? I mean, I feel like it's one of the things we don't get enough nowadays. So I always like to take time out of my week to take a walk around Middletown or whatever, and just kind of take a step back and think about what I'm doing and what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. You know, I think it's really healthy to be self-critical, and I respect everybody's opinions. So if they've got feedback, I'm ready to hear it.
Awesome.
I think feedback's really important. I think in terms of critical feedback, you can take it and view it as a lump of coal, or you can take that and you can make it into a diamond. So I think there wouldn't be an SGA or a need for a president if there weren't issues that needed to be addressed. And so I think critical feedback can help us grow as individuals and as a school. And I think without feedback, we wouldn't be doing any of this. You know, we wouldn't have concerns to be addressed. So I welcome it, and I think that it's important for us to thrive off of.
Thank you.
All right. VP?
I also agree and definitely think that feedback is really important for making sure that we can grow as students and as leaders. I also know that sometimes feedback can be really emotionally driven. And I think that in times where it is emotionally driven, it's important to be able to take a step back when responding. Maybe that might mean pulling in one of your other SGA members if you need to make sure that like you're approaching this in a common level-headed way. But also understanding that sometimes when it comes down to it and getting, you know, past the emotions, there can always be valuable growth opportunities through feedback. So I think that, you know, just being patient with each other, being patient with the person that's giving feedback, and willing to use other SGA members as a sounding board is really important.
I mean, I would agree with what most people had said. Feedback is extremely critical to growing as individuals, and sometimes it can be hard to do honest self-reflection, and it might hurt. I mean, we would all be lying if we didn't say that we've gotten feedback before that hurt, but it's really a matter of taking it and using it constructively, especially as members of SGA, where our whole job is to take student feedback and to do it that in a way that we can improve what we're doing or improve the school. So.
I agree. I think that it's very important to not make it about you, make it about the work, because that's what you're there to do, is to fulfill the responsibilities of your role. I think another thing that you can do is try and find a common goal or a common intention with the person who's giving you the criticism, so that you know that you're at least working towards the same thing.
Thank you.
So I guess I would just kind of try to learn from where the criticism is coming from, whether it's founded or unfounded. It's arising for a reason. So I would definitely try to find where the criticism is coming from and why it's happening, and definitely try to remedy anything that I would be able to.
I think criticism helps us get better, helps us grow. I'd rather people tell me than talk about it behind and then regret it later that, oh, like, she didn't do anything, but it's kind of like you didn't tell me to do anything. So how am I not supposed to do something? Being transparent is important. And I think that comes with trusting what other people are saying. If a majority is saying something, odds are I'm in the wrong or I did something that could have been done better. So I'm all ears for criticism.
Yeah, I think, we're putting ourselves in this position in order to get constant feedback. I think that's like one of the main aspects of our job is to kind of, work together as a team and also help the Toro community and all the students feel heard. So I think that, if someone's coming to you saying something, it's probably important for you to contemplate and talk with your team members to see, okay, well, this is what a group of students are thinking and feeling. How can we use this to change what we're doing and make it better for everyone?
I think feedback is more of a way of learning than anything. It's not to be taken harshly in any way, but more to just better yourself, improve what you're doing in the moment and improve your role and see what you can work on. I think it also just makes you stronger as a person that you're able to take feedback and turn into something that's positive. And it also just gives you a different perspective on certain things because everyone thinks differently. Everyone has different ideas, different mindsets. So I think taking the feedback, turning into something positive and learning from it would be the best way to do it.
I agree. I think that a lot of it is about reminding myself that feedback is because they see something that they think that there's room for improvement in, and it's about kind of trying to figure out how that applies to me and how I can improve myself in this position to better help the community, and also separating me as a person from me in this position, because my goal in this position is to help the community, and I don't think that someone wanting me to help in this way differently is attacking me as a person.
Parliamentarian.
Whenever I find myself in a situation where I'm receiving criticism, I always think about it the same way. Swift vengeance. No, I'm just kidding. Objectivity is paramount whenever receiving criticism. You have to look at it from the perspective that if this is something that you would say to somebody else, it's something that has to be done. It has to be dealt with. And it's not something to be like a kick me sign on your back. It's a map to help you to go where you need to go. So never take it personally. Objectivity is the key. And we have jobs to get done. And if we can't grow in order to get that job done, it's gonna be a lot harder. And on that point, we also get to help each other grow. So you get to criticize them later, not the swift justice or vengeance. That is just, helping each other grow.
Just give it to me straight. Like, give me any criticism, whatever you want to tell me. It's better I know about it than not knowing about it. And I mean, I'm pretty critical about myself about like everything that I do, but I'm here to help you and making sure that this is working out for you. And if you feel like it's not, then let me know so we could change it so it helps you. Like, we're here to help you, not to help myself.
Thanks, guys. This next question is not coming from me. I will not be guilted with adding a question to the list. This is Odie's question. I'm not going to make it for everyone, but if you have an answer that you'd like to give, just unmute yourself. What are you going to do if you do not make it onto SGA?
I'm big on having backup plans to my backup plans to my backup plans at all times. Like if you asked me 8 careers that I could have pursued if I didn't get into medical school, I would have had an answer. So granted, I wouldn't have been happy in any of them. But my goal is really to make sure that we're continuing to allow the student voices to be heard no matter what. And serving as a class rep is something that I've enjoyed. And should I not get a position on SGA, I would definitely want to continue to be an advocate for the student voice, and serving as a class rep, I would run for that again. And I also have talked to my advisor about the potential of starting a Women in Medicine club. So that would be something that I would get more invested in should I not be elected to SGA.
Sam, I would totally join that club if you start that. We should start that anyway. Also, I do agree though that having backup plans on backup plans, I also relate to that so much. I mean, I did engineering before medical school, so I definitely feel that. But yeah, I mean, it would be okay. I want to be involved in the school, and I'm already involved in a bunch of different clubs, and I enjoy most every aspect of Thoreau I've been a part of. So, like, do I want to be on SGA? Yeah, but there are so many great things about our school and clubs that we can do that, you're not going to die if you don't get on it.
I agree. I would probably continue being on committees in the way that I have been in the last academic year. John can attest to this. I bothered him a ton over the semester with ideas of things that I wanted to try to like implement, and it's been, oh, you should come up, like talk to this committee, because I didn't really know who to go to. So I'd continue to do so and try to help in whatever way that I can, even if I'm not part of this undergroup.
I think one thing that all of us have in common across the board is that we clearly have a passion for helping others, and that we clearly have a passion for being involved in our school community. So I'm a firm believer in when there's a will, there's a way. If you're not going to get in on SGA, there's a ton of clubs that I'm sure we're all a part of that we can run for e-board positions, or even if we're not e-board positions, just being members in clubs and committees, like Juliet said. There's definitely opportunities for us to do other things, and I'm always open to that.
So yeah, kind of like what Nisha said, that I would just try to be, well, I would want to be involved in different things if I'm not elected to SGA, and still have a positive impact on others, because I think that's why we all want to do this. But there are different plans for us, different options that we can have. So I think definitely having backups, like they've said before, yeah, definitely be involved for sure.
All right, so if no one else wants to go, John, anything else?
I do have one more question just for the presidents. So my question is, I don't know exactly how to put this. Something that I experienced was, it was hard to find the balance between working on the initiatives that I was passionate about, but then also focusing on like the daily mundane tasks, i.e. my actual job description, and not just coming up with fun stuff to do for SGA or for the school. So what I want to hear from you guys is, where do you find that balance, and what do you see your daily contributions to SGA in the school? Jessica.
I think that addressing my initiatives is just as important as the responsibilities that the position holds. I don't think that one should be given up over the other. So with that said, I'd like to first get acclimated to the position, get under control the daily tasks that you're talking about, and then from there, once I'm comfortable, start to work in those initiatives and use my other SGA members or committee members, or whoever's the contact point for the initiative that I'm interested in, and really use them to help bring that to fruition. And then I think that there's a year-long position, and some people might think a year goes fast, maybe not, but a year is a lot of time. So I think that using that to the best of my advantage, and then hopefully setting it up in a way that makes or allows the next president to also continue with it. And then in terms of day to day, I think that I work really well at night. So I think, scheduling a certain, block of time to handle those tasks. Obviously, I know things are going to come up spur of the moment that need attention, and that's fine. But for emails and things like that, really finding a time that I understand that admin will be responsive, but at the same time isn't cutting into, my class time or study time.
Thank you. Go ahead, Sam.
I'll tell you what, working in a cubicle for 8 years, you do a lot of things that you don't want to do as part of your role. And I got a copy of the Constitution and the role responsibilities. I read through that, and here I am applying. So I'm ready for whatever the job brings. As you heard in my platform, I mean, they're pretty big gaps. You know, I just outlined a few ideas for each topic, and the topics are pretty specific and projects I'd probably pursue independently, regardless of it, whether or not I was president. So I think everything in between is about being a conductor for the feedback we're getting from everybody else. So yeah, I'm, like I said, I mean, being in a job, in a serious career, it's like you kind of learn how to manage your emails. You learn who needs to see what, where to pass what, where, what layers need to see what, review wise, and just kind of keep the wheels turning.
Awesome. So I did have a few words I wanted to share, but I have no more questions. So if anyone else has questions they'd like to toss up, now is a good time. I'll take that as a no. All right, yeah, I just wanted to first of all thank all of you guys. I think Mario. Odie, can you, now's not a good time. All right. Good night.
Oh,
Chris.
was that Odie that did that? That's hilarious.
Yes, it's not that funny.
Sorry, I'm not trying to condone the.
Whoever becomes VP, just don't be like Odie. That's all I have to say. No, I know it's a big leap of faith. It's scary, but it's and whoever does end up on SGA, it's not going to be easy all the time. It's definitely very stressful, but it's also very rewarding, and you're going to grow a lot as a person. All right, guys, haha, it's funny. Yeah, okay. No, I'm definitely proud of all of you guys for running, and especially after this year, feeling like this is something that you want to do to give back to the school is really awesome. I'm also taking the call from the SGA office today as kind of just a cute little sentimental thing. You guys can have fun in here. We didn't do much in here because of COVID, but yeah, we cleaned it. That's true. It was very messy before Odie and I got here. I have nothing else to say. If Ali, if you have any closing words.
Sure. Closing words. You guys all did really great. Thank you all for being here, taking the time out. I know we're all really busy, have a lot going on, but we were here for this whole time. And towards the beginning, we had almost 80 people here, so it was really great that our fellow classmates came out and heard what you guys all had to say. I think that's really important. A lot of great questions asked, a lot of great answers given. So just be on the lookout. There's going to be a school-wide email going out tomorrow. So if any of you guys would like to update your letters of intent or change something up, whatever, just give that to me soon. You have about 24 hours. All of your letters of intent, a voting page, and also a recording of this speech are going to be going out to the entire school, and then they will vote. But I really want to just say on behalf of SGA, of course, that you guys all did a really great job. And I think I speak for everyone when I say we are really impressed with all of you guys. And yeah, we worked really hard, doing the different things that we're supposed to do within SGA and your position and stuff. And we hope that you guys can carry on our work, improve on things, do what you need to do, make it your own. And yeah. So yeah, just be on the lookout for that email. And yeah, thank you guys so much for everything. And for the few people that stayed who didn't really have to, but stayed anyways, thank you guys too. All right.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, guys. Good luck with everything. And yeah.
Good luck on your OSCE.
Thanks.
Good luck and good night.
Yeah. See you guys. Thanks for the great questions.